Merry Christmas, everybody. It is New Zealand Christmas morning, and I had a fancy breakfast. I say fancy, it was about as basic as you can get, but delicious. It was fried eggs and bacon with mushrooms, and it was delicious. And then I had to wash my face because I had literal egg on my face, which made me laugh when I was in the mirror going, I have egg on my face. Because, how often do those things come true? But they did. And then Colton was busy saying on Matt's live stream that he was pretty toasted. And I thought, it's a bit early for me. Do you know what? It's Christmas. People drink at Christmas. People have champagne breakfasts at Christmas. I'm totally allowed to have a drink. So I just poured myself a whiskey and Coke. Merry Christmas, everybody. Cheers, particularly Rogue, having just finished all of the Realm of the Elderlings. It can be emotional. So finishing bang on Christmas is kind of a pretty amazing place to be. But yeah. Oh, look, people are all here. Hello, everybody. We've got us has come over. Rogue, obviously. And is that Sia? I don't know if I've met Sia before. You were in the chat on Matt's channel. And Matt's here. Yay! And again, if you would like to join, the link is in Matt's chat on the Discord. Hi, Alicia. And oh, look at that. The sun's just come out. Oh, couldn't ask for a better days. And it's Alex. Hi, Alex. So does anybody have any kind of, oh my God, I've got to do this today or tomorrow, as the case may be, things that they need to get off their chests? Because I always find that intriguing. Because it's Christmas and everyone's busy going, oh, be Christmas, be merry. And then Amy shows up and everything's that much better. Oh, hello, lovely. How are you?
I'm so tired. But I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I didn't have to work today because I had vacation time I had to burn, floating the holidays as it was. So I took today off and I'm taking New Year's Eve off. So
nice. So is Aaron home with you too, or is he working?
He is braving. I don't know why he wants to do this, but he's like, I'm gonna go to the grocery store. And I'm like, that's on you, man. So
that's a choice. That's very definitely a choice at this time of year. But oh my goodness. Oh, Peter's here, Shadi is here. Lovely. And Rogue, all sorts of emotions. Rogue literally just finished Assassin's Fate, Evie.
I saw that.
I'm very excited. And Peter's got to finish Belly of the Bow. Did Anita finish?
You got a week. No, she still hasn't. So she's not until Monday. So
right. Oh, true. If you've got another week, you're good. Well, Alex is hiding, waiting for family to leave. That relates to me on such a level, Alex. I also hide from large groups of people.
It's true.
Yeah. And I don't think it counts as lurking, Colton, if you're chatting in the chat.
That's true.
But I'm very glad to have you.
So. I will say, so my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law, potentially. Mm-hmm. So my brother-in-law, or my mother-in-law definitely, but my brother-in-law maybe, we're supposed to come over tomorrow for Christmas Day. Normally, we go for Chinese food, because apparently that's a stereotypically Jewish thing to do.
Okay.
But Aaron was like, I want to make a roast.
And yum.
Long story short.
Is this why he's grocery shopping?
Yes, he's getting mushrooms and some other stuff. But because he couldn't do that over the weekend when he was getting the roast. But anyways, long story short, my mother-in-law is not coming over, nor is my brother-in-law, because my mother-in-law is congested and my husband doesn't want to get sick. So we're going to be delaying holiday festivities. It's a good thing Hanukkah is 8 days, 8 nights long. So we got
fair enough. Okay, I'm not a fan of this lurking protocol, people. If you're here, say hi. You don't have to comment lots, but say hi. Then we can sort of slowly draw you in and you can become a more active chatter, because you're all welcome. And he would go, "What is George having for Christmas dinner?"
Well,
Does George have Christmas dinner?
no, she's very basic. She eats kibble, but that actually reminds me I need to give her food. So I'll do that
Fair
if
enough.
we sprint. So
Okay. I spoiled George. I thought, not George. I spoiled Motzi. I thought I'll get him one of those little chewy, snacky jobbies that all the cats love. But they were really expensive, and there were small little single meal pouches that I could get a bunch of for not much more. So I'll get him some.
these types of things.
Yeah, no, little wet food pouches. Yeah. And Mott's just about lunged at me when I opened it. I was like, oh, okay. So I put them in a bowl. This is a cat that has refused the entire time he's been with this family, refused to have wet food. And he inhaled that entire pouch. I was like, you little bastard. But I did have a moment of inspiration earlier on Matt's stream, and it may be because he's old now and we're feeding him with the bowls up on a step. Maybe the angle of approach, because he's much more comfortable with that. So yeah. And hello again, Britain. It's been absolutely ages since we talked, at least 5 minutes.
Yeah, Max, ever since Max's whole thing, he's now been getting wet food. Not completely wet food, but he's getting wet food in his
And how's he coping with that?
He's like, how have I not had this in my entire life?
Oh, okay.
Holding out on me forever. So now I don't know if it's the wet food or if it's just the length of time, because it takes time for me to prep this stuff.
Yeah,
he has to have medication and stuff like that.
Yep.
So like he'll just like huff, and he'll do like a like pound his like just hop, like huff, like woof.
Yep.
Like hurry up. So
come on already.
Yeah,
I can smell it. So. Yeah, I do love those when they do that little front paw jump that they do.
Yeah, like, come on.
So
I think I saw so on Matt's stream. You were reading Assassin's Apprentice?
Yes. And for the first time ever, I'm just putting a little post-it when I notice something. And 14 pages in, I've already got quite a lot.
Nice.
I'm like, okay, I clearly have noticed a lot over the years. So I'm like, foreshadowing for that. Oh, this is this. Already 3 times I've gone, he's been called a pup. So the whole dog boy thing literally starts in the first chapter. I mean, I've always known that it was a big thing, but I've never actually paid attention to when it happens, how often it happens. I was like, wow, that's a lot. But yes. And I shall do some Hogfather readings after I calm down a bit. But it's exciting because Evie's here. And I haven't spoken to Evie for at least a day. So it's Christmas.
It's been a while.
So it has been a while.
Yeah,
and I don't know about an annotations video because this is the first time I've ever tried.
I mean, I annotate in that I just mark what I like, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the most
which I think is kind of the point.
So the most that I do is, where's it at? Got it. Hold on.
Nicole's here. Hi. I keep seeing your live streams and thinking, I should pop in and say hi. And then I get sidetracked and I don't. And I'm sorry.
The most that I'll do, which this is different in that I don't have tabs. Usually I have tabs. But, like for the Iliad, what I did is I marked. As I read, I noticed, I'm like, oh, there's some themes going on here. So I highlighted. I have Hades and Persephone, women in love, just general inspiration, and then what was the other one? Oh, horses, because horses play a big deal in the
very on brand. I love it.
And so
we haven't met.
Hi, Matt.
Awesome.
Hello.
Hi.
You can see like all this horse stuff.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, that's a big chunk of horse stuff.
And horse stuff.
Wow, that's an even bigger chunk of horse stuff. I did not know there was so much horse stuff.
And also related to women and love. Like,
oh wow.
For a over 2,000, almost 2,500-year-old epic poem. I'm still debating on what whether I want to do a video about the Iliad and the Odyssey, of like
There it
from
is.
a plebeian non-classicist point of view.
Yeah, well, one of those.
Have you also been?
No, this is just
She's
so
tired.
I can't talk. So
This is pre-pumpkin, Evie. Clearly, we're in the transition zone to pumpkin.
it's really early to turn into a pumpkin.
Okay.
Peter,
I don't know what time
Yeah,
it is.
it's later here than it is there. It's
That's true.
10 p.m. here.
Peter, that is so kind of you. Thankfully, everything that folks contributed and what insurance covered, I was able to cover everything. So just the thought counts. So thank you so much. You don't have to spend anything.
It's actually the only reason I'm here is I just wanted to ask you how is Max doing.
He's great.
Because I didn't ask you earlier.
Okay, then I can leave.
Okay,
but he's enjoying the wet food also. There's a pet wet food resurgence happening. Oh, yeah.
it's true.
Fitz has gone kind of weird. It was doing for a long time a mix of dry food and wet food.
Oof.
And that was fine. Totally fine. And now she starts throwing up whenever she eats dry food.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why. So
because
now she's only on wet food at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, look at this. We've got lots of not new people. People that I've encountered lots, but don't often make my live streams. And it's lovely.
Oh, and Evie, I discovered the only cat toy I need are springs.
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody, there's I'm on lots of different groups on Reddit because there's everything on Reddit, and some of the groups are actually quite cool. And I'm on a Maine Coon group on Reddit, which is basically just people going, "Look how pretty my cat is," and everyone going, "Oh my god, your cat's beautiful." Yeah, and somebody posted something on there about like the Maine Coon's favorite toy, the spring, and I bought a pack of springs, and Fitz is fucking insane for the springs. Here she is.
Yay! Hi, Fitz.
She's like, why are you holding me?
Yeah.
Like, hello, Fitz. You're very beautiful.
Gorgeous.
You see all the people? You see all the people?
She's so pretty. She's like, of course I am. This is not news.
And all of a sudden, whack!
She's looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? Stupid human. Yeah. But she goes nuts for the springs. Oh my god. And just
really?
like they can keep her busy for like an hour.
Springs in the cardboard box they came in, Grifton. What Grifton said.
Yeah. Although she's not that much of a box cat. I put down boxes and she'll look at them and investigate them, but she doesn't really get in them and sit around forever.
Have you tried the thing where you mark a square on the floor? It is the weirdest thing. It works. I did it with Mott's, and I've done it again recently with one of those foam like jigsaw square things. Every time, it doesn't matter where I put it, he will find it and sit on it. He's like, "Oh, a place demarcated.
There's a square. It must be mine.
It's mine."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "You guys are the weirdest things."
Yes. Yeah.
Even funnier is when you see when the zoos are doing those enrichment things for their cats, and they'll give them like a fridge box. And you're like, okay, this is my cat. This is how my cat sees themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does Dairy loaf? Sal is asking.
Yes, Mott's does loaf, but he judges. He rather than the loaf with the little tucked in feet, he was far more likely to do this and just kind of judge. He judges a lot.
Max does that. Obviously not a cat. He's a dog. Yeah. And I call it he's crossing his paws.
Yes.
Being a gentleman. Does Fitz loaf? Do Maine Coons in general loaf?
Yes, but it's also extremely Maine Coon to cross the paws.
Like a brick.
Like most cats don't do that very often. But
No,
Maine
it is
Coons,
an
Maine Coons, it's
unusual
like
one.
standard operating
Yeah.
procedure for them. They always lay down and cross their paws.
I wonder if it is about the length of their limbs because they're so enormous.
They do have pretty long legs, but she does also like curl everything up
Yep.
and just become a little ball of fur with her head.
The guy was here yesterday mowing the lawns, and Mott's always freaks out, runs away, but decided he wasn't going to run away outside for a change, and instead went under my bed. And so I was checking on him because it really scares him. And he'd curled himself into a ball and also put his paw over his face. And I was like, "Oh, you look like a person that's hiding from something." It was so cute. Like
Fitz will curl up in a circle, put her paws like this, and then tuck her head under them, so she looks like literally just a ball of fur. You can't see any features at all. No feet, no legs, no head, no ears, nothing. Just fur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to love your animals, man. They just bring you so much love.
Indeed.
And then we've got Terry starting "My Heart is a Chainsaw."
Yes.
So there you go. That's some excitement.
Next year is a big, or at least in my life, it's a big buddy read kind of year.
So this is
Oh,
Leia,
so
the
beautiful. We don't see Leia very often.
It's not whatever. Anyways, this is Aaron's cat.
Leia looks like an absolute psycho with that eye wide open.
She was being a psycho. So there is a video. Oh, yep. Hold on. She was fighting with her tail.
Yeah,
I love it when they do that.
So she's going nuts.
She's not very good at catching it, though.
Yeah, she's terrible.
I have to say, one of the absolute advantages to being in New Zealand is it is kitten season here. So the first lot of kittens usually start being old enough for adoption around about mid-November. So the 2 litters you could get in a season sort of fall between mid-November and about February. So kittens are a big thing at Christmas, and there's always ads on their telly from the SPCA. It's not just for Christmas. So.
Yeah.
Oh, this was one of the photos I was trying to find. This is George. This is what she.
Oh,
what the crap?
Here we go.
Focus.
Focus. If I yell at it enough, it'll happen, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Anyways, this is what I'm what she does, which I call her imitation roadkill.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes she'll even go a little bit further and like put her like belly up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well,
that was when we knew. Sorry, go.
If we're sharing photos, I told you all before about Tub Cat. Like Fitz has to be in the tub if I'm in the bathroom.
Yes.
Now I've also got Sink Cat.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, you so see her size in that photo.
Yeah. Yeah, she's the sink is not huge, but she is pretty damn big.
Girl.
Yeah.
She's so beautiful. That's so cute.
And she also started doing a thing where she'll like jump in the tub. She always jumps in the tub. And then she'll climb up on the edge of the tub, and she either goes that way and then gets in the sink, or she goes this way, gets on the back of the toilet, and then puts her paws on my shoulder while I'm sitting on the toilet.
Oh,
like Fitz, what do you think you're doing? Like, what
you're
do you want?
Yeah. I
So,
always found it funny when my ex had a dog. He had a German Shepherd, and I adored Dylan. I grieved for that dog when he left us. Like I've never grieved for a person, I don't think. And he would try and follow you into the bathroom, and I would be like, well, "Stop it! Why?" And my ex said, "Well, we watch him when he goes." And I'm like, "Okay, valid point." So he thinks that's normal.
Yeah.
TMI here. So I will go into the bathroom. I typically like to go to the bathroom with the door open because it feels freeing.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Aaron judges me, so I only do it when I'm home alone.
Same.
But when I try and close the door, I think it's closed. Apparently, it's not latched enough because all of a sudden, like 2 seconds later, boom! Max comes in like the freaking Kool-Aid man, and like, what are you doing?
Wait a minute, I got to check on this.
Fitz will sit outside. Like I live alone, other than Fitz. Yeah. So I always have the door open. There's no reason to close the door when I go to the bathroom. If I close the door when I go to the bathroom, Fitz will start screaming. She will sit right outside the bathroom door and just scream at me until I open it.
Yeah.
So I just
How dare you close that door?
Yeah, it's my bathroom too.
Yeah, how rude. Whereas here, it's a family home, so no one. Whereas it bothers me. I'm like, and everybody's away at the moment, which is heavenly. And I went to the loo this morning, and I was in a rush. I was like, I had things on the cooker, and I've got things going, so it just was too much hard work to close the door. And Mox was like, the door is open. What are you guys doing here? He was like, oh, okay. Oh, is that all? And then off he went. But it was just this look on his face of, oh.
I had people over on Sunday.
So funny.
I had people over for board games on Sunday. And of course, when people are over, things are different. Of course, you shut the door.
Of course.
And one of my friends went to the toilet and shut the door, and Fitz followed them, sat down in front of the door, and then looked over her shoulder at me. She was like, do they not know? Like,
this is not the protocol.
Yeah, this is not right.
That's funny. Okay, I didn't script it again because for some unknown reason yesterday, this is after the whole family is gone finally, and I stand on a shard of glass that existed in the kitchen, right in the middle of the room, like it was. I wasn't standing on the edge of the room, and so no, I wasn't skipping anywhere, and I was in a pretty foul mood. And when I've come into my bedroom to find tweezers to get the thing out of my foot, I've then realized it's actually been bleeding a lot, and I've left a trail of blood through the house. I'm like, oh great, now I've got a clean carpet. It's like, are you serious?
One day something's going to happen in your house, and the police are going to find blood traces.
And it's going
to be so suspicious.
It really will. Between cleaning up after my blood trail from that, and cleaning up after the cat, who prior to my taking charge of his activities would grumpily pee. Like it would be like, well, yeah, I'm going to pee in the corner. And so between cleaning up after that and the cat and the teenagers who somehow don't know how physics work and that things will attach themselves to their shoes and then come through. Forensics would be beside themselves in this house. And of course we had the lead contaminants. So we've had
over the whole place
cleaning.
With bleach.
And that's even more dangerous because then the whole house glows and they're like, okay, so what are you hiding?
Yeah, but at least it's hidden.
This is true. And my very best friend, she's got like bum length hair. So there's fucking hair everywhere.
Yeah. I used to have sort of nipple length hair when I was in university, but I had a long haired cat, and
between the two of you.
Well, that was when I decided to shave my head, because I was like, I have a cat, but I find more of my hair around the flat than I do my cat's. That is not right. So
I cut my hair because I gave up on adhering to societal standard.
This is something I have to try soon, Ida, because Fitz hasn't been drinking, or at least has been drinking extremely little out of the same bowl that she always used to drink out of. I don't know why.
You did say that you recently started her on wet food, right?
Yeah, she's only wet food now and not dry and wet. Yeah.
So they will drink less.
Maybe she needs less.
They will drink less water if they're.
But there's needing less and drinking nothing.
The thing is, like, I was away that weekend, right? Like, whenever it was. Before I went away, she was already on wet food, but she was drinking pretty regularly. And then I was away, and she had the cat sitter. I came back, and she had puked. She had diarrhea, and since I came back, she hasn't been. Well, it was because she was getting dry food because I had to, because the machine does the lunchtime feed, and but sort of since then,
she just hasn't quite come right.
She hasn't been drinking much, but she looks okay. She's acting healthy. Her coat looks fine. Everything seems perfectly fine. Just, I used to see her drink.
You definitely want to get ahead of it, though. Yeah, you don't want her to get into the habit of not drinking. That's not good for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some really funky little fountains.
And they're good for you as well because they purify the air.
Running water is good. What's the word?
Qi.
Feng shui.
Good feng shui. Yeah, exactly.
To have running water.
Yeah, and it also purifies the air because the water absorbs a bunch of crap out of the air and takes it away.
So there you go. All around good for everybody.
Exactly.
What's to worry about? What will happen now is Fitz will be like, why don't you just turn the tap on and sink? Clearly, I like the sink.
she's like this far away from figuring out, like the sink would be a problem because when she's in the sink, she fills the sink.
Yeah, that's
right.
True.
So she would basically just be getting a shower.
Yeah,
but
because
in the bathtub, she has consciously figured out how to turn the tap on. She's seen me do it enough. She's figured it out, but she doesn't have the power in her paws and the leverage. So I've seen her go in there and she'll jump in there and she'll look at the tap and then she'll be like,
"Can I do it? I think I can do
it."
And
she just can't move it. But she understands how it works. So
I would be so tempted to just leave it just hanging on to the bite so that maybe she could do it. Give her a fright one day when she goes, I can. Oh, I did it. That would be so great to watch.
I used to have an orange tabby cat who was a sink cat. He would lay in the sink, and if we just turned on the tap a little bit, he wanted to have the water drip on him. Like,
yeah, they're weird like that sometimes.
And
was that one Ginger? Not judging. I had Ginger cats.
Yeah, no, he was a
They're amazing.
Yeah.
All the crazy ones. And
he was
I know that's
tabby.
generalization, but they were awesome.
Yeah,
totally
ginger
true.
tabbies are basically dogs in cat form.
Yeah.
He would play fetch. He loved water. Yeah.
Fitz has started doing fetch with the springs. Now that I've got springs,
nice.
She'll knock the spring around for like 5 minutes, and then she'll bring it over to me at the sofa and like in her mouth, and just sit there with the spring.
Like children, only when they're getting exactly what they want out of it. They're really easy to train.
Yeah, exactly. She's not much on training. Although I've just recently, because I'm feeding her wet food all the time now, and I'm bending over and putting it in her bowl, and she's always trying to stick her face in there. I've been trying to teach her 2 words: wait, and okay,
and go.
Yeah. So I'm like, push, wait, push, wait, push, wait. Okay. And I think she's getting it. When I fed her tonight, she was kind of like, I'll just sort of sit back here for a moment.
Do I push for a second?
And I said, okay. And then she was like, whoa, straight into it.
Nice. We trained Max since he was a puppy to wait. And he, like, we don't have to say wait anymore. We just have to say, okay. He'll just sit back and he'll wait for his food. There have been multiple times where I swore I said go ahead or okay, because those are his cues to go ahead and eat his food, where I thought I said go ahead, but either I didn't say it loud enough, didn't say it at all, or he didn't hear it. And he'll just sit there. And there was one time my brother-in-law was over. We were playing video games or playing board games or something like that. We're sitting at the dining room table, and all of a sudden, Max just comes over and he's like huffing at us, like and buffing.
You didn't tell me I could have my dinner.
And he's like buffing, and he's like, "What do you want? What do you want?" And my husband gets up and he's like, You didn't tell him to go ahead. And as soon as we said go, Aaron told him go ahead.
So
right to the food. 15 minutes.
The Exorcist dog was good for that. He always waited till he was told he was allowed.
Fitz has got.
He'd just sit there and look at you.
Fitz has got a remarkably sensitive nose. Like I buy the wet food packages in boxes, like larger boxes.
It's the only way, or it's so expensive.
And every now and then, one of them will be like a little nick somewhere in the bottom, and maybe it's a little bit off. So I feed her, and I walk out. And then 15 minutes later, she'll be in the living room yelling at me, and I've eventually learned that means my food is not acceptable. I go back in there, and the bowl's totally full. She hasn't touched it, Yeah.
And to be fair, they do. Part of this is they're limited in the ways they can act out. It's not that they're better trained; it's that they don't have quite the resources.
Extremely limited agency. Yeah.
So, we're lucky on that front, but they're definitely they what would we do without them? I mean, let's face it. But and yes, Sal.
Yes, yeah. My cat, although she is a she is named for Fitz from Realm of the Eldlings, of course. I still kind of want to get another Maine Coon that is white, and of course, he would be named the Fool. But I'm not really sure I want two cats.
No, and you have to be careful with Maine Coons because they either really, really love their co-cat or they really, really don't.
Yeah.
I have told Aaron, well, I've always, like, Golden Retriever has been my, like, dream dog. To be clear, I love my dog Max. Okay, love my dog.
Yeah.
Golden Retriever, though, that's like my dream dog ever since I was a kid and I saw Homeward Bound and was traumatized. And
they're really pretty dogs.
So I would like
I should get a puppy
while
Max is around
and name the Golden Retriever Fool, so you can I can say I have a golden fool.
And now Derry's going to dissolve into a pile of tears.
Here's Max.
That's too beautiful.
I'm not getting a dog. I wish. This is all like theory and delusion.
Oh no, but you do have to talk to Aaron about it because as much as we do adore Max, unfortunately for all of us who have pets, we all know they're not immortal.
No,
and
there's really a high likelihood of them not living as long as we. Yeah.
Because to replace the dog feels like replacing the dog instead of just having a younger dog, which if you have a puppy when one's getting older, it's a different transition. Yeah, but to go from dog I adore to no dog to new dog is more of an emotional thing.
Yeah, the only thing is, like, Aaron wants to, he's like, I want us to pick out a dog together or name. He's like, if you pick the dog, I want us to name it together. Or if you are going to name the dog, I want us to pick the dog together. So I really can't have both. So my alternative is, regardless of the type of dog we get, if we were to get a second dog or another dog, whether it's a male or a female, we name the dog Robin. Because
nice
Hob, and also Aaron's favorite, like, Disney animated film and favorite legend is Robin Hood.
A doodle dally day, love it.
Or you could just be a dictator on this one particular thing.
I could do that,
but
actually, I've got a better idea.
Grateful Aaron, who
I've got a better idea.
Like today,
you just simply make Aaron read all of Realm of the Eldlings, and then he'll understand.
So, Aaron, if you're watching this, I love you. Okay,
but
just want to clarify. That. Preface this also as an aside. We did not, for the chat, we did not coordinate all of we're in the same room right now.
Clearly, white people have gone, this is the color for Christmas.
Yeah.
This was the next shirt in the pile. I mean, like,
this was a choice this morning.
Yeah.
So Aaron doesn't like fantasy. He doesn't understand it, and I shouldn't say he doesn't understand. He does not prefer fantasy. He prefers sci-fi.
That's fine.
And on top of that, he doesn't understand why a story can't be told in just one book. He doesn't understand series. And I'm like,
ask him how old the people in his life are.
Well, also, I mean, I've thrown back at him a couple of times.
Stories can take a while.
It's also science fiction, though. Like, science fiction, there are a lot fewer series and a lot more standalones than in fantasy.
True,
because
but I threw it back at him. I'm like, you like Star Wars.
Yeah, you like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Star Wars. So why you should have just one movie?
Hello.
Yeah.
I know. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Kev, doesn't he like Star Wars? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's not a book.
Precisely.
I will say, we buddy read Tender as the Flesh by Agustina Bastarrica together, and he loves that book. So.
Oh.
And
Okay.
Star Wars is fantasy also. You can tell him I said so.
Yeah, it's space
That's
opera really
true.
more than science
Yeah,
fiction.
Star Wars and Dune are both fantasy.
He read Ready Player One, loved it. Read Ready
Not
Player
fantasy,
Two,
but-
hated it. I know.
Try him on Dungeon Crawler
I've heard
Card.
that from a lot of people. Like
yeah.
Ready Player 2 is meant to be garbage. And if you like that kind of thing, Ready Player 1 was a lot better.
Enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
Although I've heard from a lot of people Ready Player 1 was also garbage. But anyway.
Remy and Rogue. I'm sorry, I love them.
Bottom 5 book ever, says Peter. Okay.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, I mean,
Damn.
I've read Ready Player One, and I remember thinking, okay, I get it. I get it. I can get why a lot of people love it because okay.
I remember hearing about it, and I was like,
better ones.
that sounds like it's doing things that Tad Williams already did years ago.
Yeah, it's like
And
there are better
like,
ones that
okay.
do this.
You know, all right.
So, but also, I've gone crazy over the Dungeon Crawler Card, which is just fucking brilliant in terms of science fiction. That's very meta. That's very
Colton,
pop culture, and it's.
can you put Colton's last comment up? Colton, you really are drunk because you misunderstood what Evie said exactly backwards. Aaron's problem is he doesn't understand series. He likes one
it takes
book.
too long to tell a story.
Yeah.
So
because
alternatively, that could be a book that he might love. I could get him to buddy read it. So yeah, that's
it's a single book, and it's
you got there.
Fantasy
you got
that
there
is. So. It is fantasy that is technically. It is science fiction that's technically fantasy.
Yeah. And we read Dune together, my husband and I.
Right.
Nice.
And that's
Albeit
basically
it was
also
a reread
fantasy
for both of us. So
yeah. Especially if you watch the new series, Dune Prophecy, it gets full on fantasy. It's really like there are some things in there where I was like
Brian Herbert bull crap. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, but I mean, it's I decided I was willing to give it a chance because I don't want to read Brian Herbert's books. But when someone is doing a TV show, it's not Brian Herbert's book. It's
that's right. It's
some TV writers doing some
adaptation.
Writing. You know, yeah. And it's okay. It's okay. There are some things introduced in it. So people have some powers in it where I'm like, okay, it's maybe a fine point to make, but in Dune, the things that feel kind of magic are actually human powers you can imagine someone developing to such an extreme that they could influence other people with them. This other guy in Dune Prophecy has magic powers.
Right.
Like full on influencing the world, not just the people, but he's influencing things outside. He's setting people on fire with his mind kind of thing. And it's like, I don't know. It's a bit much.
Stepped outside the boundaries of the story with this one.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Peter said, there's also a fair bit of pretty bad writing in it in the show. I think I've given up on it, but
that's all right. Mike, this is making me so happy. Mike and Robin have just binged the 6 audio Dungeon Crawler Cards.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
This has made my day.
I
hope you had so much fun.
I'm just realizing that I can completely destroy my TBR plans. I'm sorry to anyone that I had obligations to. I can get my husband to try and read Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky.
Ooh.
Because it's
yes, you totally can.
It's a novella and it's sci-fi with a bit of fantasy.
You could be on a winner there because Tchaikovsky goes really well as the bridge between the two.
Yes, Aaron, if you're watching this, because the type of sci-fi that he likes is like action-based sci-fi.
Yeah, Tchaikovsky is a good choice.
He is the author that for me is fun while still being thematically, have a lot of thematic depth. But he's
really clever.
Plot action-based in his storytelling. So Elder Race, Mike, I know you've read all of the Tchaikovskys, so tell me if Elder Race is a good one for him to read.
I read Elder Race as my first Tchaikovsky, and I liked it. And it's a sci-fi fantasy mix kind of.
Yeah.
And very short.
That could be a really
no,
good
no,
choice.
no. It's much more of an explicit mix.
Okay.
There is a sci-fi aspect to the story, and there's a fantasy aspect to the story, kind of.
Okay.
But I would agree with Mindo. It's a good choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool story. It's short and easy to read.
All right. Yeah, I might. Once I'm done with Tchaikovsky, I'm going to pick up another Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to give you grief for that except the people you have plans with.
I just got more Tchaikovsky. Tori sent it. Tori sent it to me for Christmas. And I think this one's a standalone.
It is. Words of
yeah.
Eden is.
It is reading Guns of the Dawn. Yay!
Yay!
We're doing a read along on the Fireside Discord of Guns of the Dawn in February because I have not read it, and Anitha promised to reread it with us, and a bunch of people are interested. So if someone's interested in Guns of the Dawn,
really?
Shut up, Kev.
Yeah. Well, actually, to your point, I'm pretty sure he's seen The Last Unicorn. I could convince him to read The Last Unicorn with me. So
nice.
Nice.
Guns of Dawn is so good. Yeah, it's.
I was actually just thinking the other day. I'm like, they do like crowdfunding for stories now, like to publish stories. If we could
but we'd have to lever it into his timetable. Between the 70 books he's already writing.
It's also totally tied up in his contracting. Yeah. So, like, I don't know, and he didn't say. If you haven't seen it, Sal, I did an interview with him on my channel not too long ago.
Disguised as a Sunday pub.
Yeah, it was a Sunday pub special edition, and he also really loved Guns of the Dawn. He was really happy with it. He was really disappointed that it didn't do that well, which is why there hasn't been any more. Because his publishers are like, we want you to write things that sell, and Guns of the Dawn didn't sell that much. But he was also talking about maybe doing something with it on his own if he's allowed to, sometime, maybe, so.
But it is something he has an interest in continuing.
Yeah. No, he was into the world. He was interested in the world. He enjoyed writing it, So I don't know.
Yeah, we talk about writers and writing and things that are coming, and we're on my channel. Books coming next year.
2. Well, maybe not next year, but she has 2 Realm of the Eldlings books that are almost finished. And 2 other books that are not Realm of the Eldlings that she's contracted for.
Multiple things.
Yeah.
When that news came out of Dragonsteel, I was a little bit beside myself. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Very
that's pretty exciting. Realm of the Eldlings is not over.
Not that I genuinely thought it was, because I'm like, no, it's left open. This can continue. And everyone's been saying, no, the story's finished. I'm like, no. There are things that suggest that it could keep going.
There are plenty of things.
For years, I've been saying that.
Speaking of Robin Hobb, shout out to Bookborn for getting this for me.
Oh,
nice.
Awesome. Oh, God, she's so good.
Cool.
She's just an angel for you for doing that.
And shout out to Pete. My copy's downstairs. He also got me the Grimoire anthology and got
cool.
Sign it, and because she's got a story in there as well as Ogden, Robin Hobb's daughter.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I should have to keep an eye out for that myself.
Yeah.
And Jenny's writing a sequel to Gallant.
I don't know. It would just be on ebook, I think. I'll double check to see, like, if you can still get it. I know it was physically sold out, but let me see if they can do like a.
Derry, can you kick Kev?
No, I have an understanding with Kev.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he paying you
I have to have beef with someone. If I kick off everybody that says average things about Hobb, I'd have nobody to have beef with.
That's true. So
I have to let Kev on. Because Andrew doesn't show up to my chats. I'm not big enough for Andrew.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Exactly. So now there you go. Tawny Man this year. The beef may reduce with Kev.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
20 Man's pretty damn
Freaking
hot.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you maybe should join me and
Secondhand
get
thrilled.
first-hand thrilling.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a
could be
read.
fun. You're very
Definitely worth
right.
a read.
This is going to annoy me a lot.
What?
Brian did that to me the other day.
Oh yeah, he did,
was
and
not
I
happy.
immediately wrote in the chat. I was like, "Dude, she's a Kiwi."
No. Like, don't even.
By the way,
Oh,
I
very
said,
dare you.
when Brian said that, I was like, oh, Aaron was like, no, she's a Kiwi.
Yeah. This was
And
my
I think
thing.
I
We
told
love
you that
Aaron.
too. So
Yeah. And then Aaron's like, whatever, I'm eating. I'm like, fine.
we love Aaron. Yeah.
I love him too.
Apparently
but
like
I'm a little
Aaron.
biased, so
Grufe, she's from those other two islands. New Zealand is not
I'm
an
from
island.
literally God's zone.
Two.
Aotearoa, which in Māori is land of the long white cloud. Because, when you're in the ocean, there's clouds over land. And New Zealand is sort of long line of land. And so it's a long white cloud.
Other than like the northern versus southern island, do the two islands have specific names like for in New Zealand?
If they do, but I don't know them.
Oh, okay.
It's still a relatively new thing that we're accepting a lot of the Māori names for big places, even though most of us have completely forgotten that a lot of our suburbs are Māori words, and because they're just in everyday parlance. Like, nobody blinks twice at saying, oh yeah, they live in Manukau. That's a Maori word. Oh, they live in Pukekohe. That's a Māori word. And we're getting used to it. So
it's exactly the same in Australia. Australia's city names are all a mix of very, very British or very, very Aboriginal.
Yeah.
So, you'll have Brighton, which is right next to Wollongong, or Wagga
or
Wagga,
Mooloolaba.
or Balulaba, or
I love the word Mooloolaba. I woke up in a hospital in Mooloolaba once. After I don't remember, but
I'm trying to remember. There's a movie that happens in Mooloolaba, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I'm trying to think too. I'm thinking I have seen it recently.
Is it Muriel's Wedding, or
it might be?
one of those Aussie
if
movies?
It's the American take on Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, but Priscilla is definitely Sydney. Although they might.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I'm
wondering if the American one, because of course they go, backcountry.
Yeah.
And it might be in it, because I did watch
it.
That recently.
It didn't need an American version.
No, not as good as Priscilla.
Oh, it could never be as good as Priscilla. Priscilla is such a classic movie.
Priscilla is brilliant.
Priscilla, Queen of
the Desert has some iconic shots in it that you just
oh my
God.
I realized many years later, like I saw Priscilla when it came out, and then many years later I moved to Sydney, and I was living in a flat, and I was sitting on my balcony, and on my balcony looked straight down at the Imperial Hotel, which is a classic really old school hotel, pre-World War II hotel pub. Yeah. And I could just see it every day. And then one day, me and my housemates watched Priscilla. And when the bus first leaves at the beginning, when they leave Sydney, the bus is parked in front of the Imperial Hotel, like right down the street from my flat. It blew me away. I was like, oh my God, I know that. It was that Leonardo DiCaprio meme.
Right. Yeah.
Where he's pointing at the screen. Yeah. Yeah. Nothing needs an American version. Exactly, Grufe. Yeah.
They really don't. And if people don't know what the film we're talking about is, it's Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. And it's a story of three very different men who perform as drag queens. Actually, I say that, two men and some transgender person go on tour of the outback.
Not actually transgender. He's just a transvestite.
Well, no.
Has he transitioned?
Terrence Stamp is transitioned because he's still taking.
That's right. Yeah. He's taking the estrogen and. Yeah. That's right.
And it's just a wonderful film about otherness and how people can be really accepting, even in out of the way places where there is a lot of closed-mindedness. It's not universal. And it's just a wonderful story of people who are very, very different, even amongst themselves.
Yeah.
and acceptance of themselves and each other.
It also made
great
really
film.
clear to me, as someone who lived in Sydney, what a haven and a safe space in a way
It has become
big strange cities like Sydney and San Francisco and whatever are for people who are not absolutely mainstream, you know.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to think what the American version's called.
I can't imagine. I don't want to imagine.
It's not a terrible film. Patrick Swayze makes an absolutely delightful transgender person. Wesley Snipes, who knew he could do drag so well?
Wow.
I was impressed. I'm just trying to think what it was called.
Yeah, Brighton, like Peter says, Brighton in the UK is a space like that. Brighton's a gorgeous little town. I almost moved there. I was looking for jobs in England, and there was a great place to work in. It's called To Wong Fu.
To Wong Fu, yes.
To Wong Fu with love or something like that. Yeah.
To Wong Fu and then a name.
To Wong Fu. To Wong Fu, love, blah blah blah. Yeah, I forget.
If you look up To Wong Fu, you'll find it.
Yeah.
And it's actually, as I say, it's quite a good film. It's just not what Priscilla is in terms of depth of what's being said. So, and
my disappointment with it. My disappointment with it is just like, to me, one of the best things about Priscilla is
not quite, nearly.
It's To Wong Fu. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar.
Yeah.
Britain, you're asking a question about the movie we've been talking about for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. Priscilla.
Are you a little bit behind in the live stream, or what's going on?
I just thought it was a wonderful film about just acceptance on so many levels.
Also, I always find it a little personally insulting almost when Americans feel like they need to remake a film that is so
it's actually fine.
charmingly Australian.
Yes, it is.
That's one of the things I love about the movie is it feels very Australian.
Specific to a time in history in Australia and a point of social change. So it would be like, I don't know, Spain doing a movie about a civil rights activist based on a story about friggin', I don't know, the name is escaping me.
Rosa Parks or someone like that. I mean, Rosa Parks
something similar like that.
Yeah,
but made in Spain. I mean, why?
Yeah.
Why? What is the purpose of that?
Money.
Okay, the themes are important.
Just
the message is important, but
Yeah, it's just money.
What,
Kev? What are you yelling about?
Are you annoyed that I can't remember American icons? at
America is the center of the universe.
And I've been drinking on Christmas Day, Kev. Are you seriously judging me? Seriously.
It would not surprise me if they remade
Empire of the Vampire. Oh my God. Oh, okay, you're allowed to shout at me for that. I'm so excited.
What is there's a new book.
Yes, the third. Actually, I say that. I actually have it written in my words in my calendar. If I go to February.
You should visit Ida because it's a gorgeous country. Not all of it. A lot of it is desert that will kill you, but a large part of it is amazingly gorgeous and awesome people.
It is a fabulous place.
Yeah. New Zealand as well. I mean, it's not that different.
It's a lot different, Matt. Nothing here wants to kill you.
That's true.
You could go walking in New Zealand in bare feet in the middle of nowhere and nothing will hurt you.
Yeah, you can do that in Australia as well, as long as you're loud. Like people will over exaggerate.
Know where the nearest hospital is, and I mean,
have a snake and spider bite kit in your backpack, and yeah,
it's a little bit more preparation required.
Yeah.
So,
I've never been killed by anything in Australia though, so I mean.
Hey, I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying it's not even an option in New Zealand.
People always say this. Ida said it's so far away though. People always say this. It is.
What? Yeah.
It's travel these days is like magic. if you can more or less sit still for 24 hours, you're on the other side of the world. The distance is irrelevant.
And
you
let's
sit
face
down,
it,
you read
all
a
readers.
whole book, and you're there.
We can do that.
Yeah. You read a book for
and I'm
3 hours,
drinking
you go for a
whiskey and
walk,
Coke.
you take a nap for 3 hours, you go for a walk up and down the plane, you read a book for another 3 hours, and you're halfway there.
Well, basically, look at yourself when you're on holiday or having a lazy day at home, and you eat something, you sit down, you read a book. Get up for the toilet, come back, read a book. Eat something, but you're sitting down reading a book. Yeah. All you're doing is sitting in a slightly less comfortable chair, but doing all the same things.
Yeah.
And then you're in New Zealand, where you can, in fact, visit Hobbiton. And if you book far enough in advance, you could stay in a Hobbit hole.
If you have the money.
You do have to book a long way in advance.
Long way in advance, and it's not cheap.
And no, it's not cheap. But hey, if you're going to travel, travel.
And the expense
my pet peeve is people who go to Australia and don't come to New Zealand. If you've gone all the way to Australia, it's 2 hours to then get to New Zealand.
I can
when
understand
are you coming
that.
back to visit New Zealand?
I can understand that because you could easily spend 2 months traveling around Australia and not see everything. And if you've only got limited holidays, then saying, I'm also going to go to New Zealand, like that's a big trip. It's a really big trip.
But it's a big trip going to Australia. That's my point. So if you're doing like the holiday of a lifetime and you're going to go to Australia, take a weekend and come to New Zealand.
Yeah, that's true enough.
Because otherwise you may never come.
Sal, the flight from Japan is about 8 hours, I think.
Yeah, it's not too bad from Japan.
I haven't flown to Japan, but I've flown to Hong Kong from Sydney. And it's similar-ish. So I think it's about 8 hours, something like that. And people, some people definitely cannot afford it.
Oh no, I mean,
some people talk about the expense who could afford it. I mean, this is maybe a stupid philosophy because I'm probably going to end up retiring into a cardboard box because I'm broke. But I have always prioritized experience over wealth.
Yeah.
So I earn pretty good money, so I'm doing fine. But if I can spend an amount of money to have a crazy cool experience, I will pretty much always do it.
That is awesome.
So I've traveled a hell of a lot for that reason, and I could have had a lot more money back then if I didn't travel.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, all of us are in this kind of cycle, aren't we, of earning or trying to earn more money so we've got more money. But why do we want more money? To do more things.
Yeah.
Once you have enough money to do a thing, do the thing.
Yeah.
Then earn the next amount of money to do the next thing.
Yeah.
It's for people like myself and Kev who kind of have to live week to week that it's a bit of a pain in the ass. Because there's so much time has to go in.
I am totally aware.
Worthwhile.
I am totally aware and grateful for how lucky I am with my earning and the the money I've been able to make pretty much all my life. I know that isn't the case everywhere with everyone.
No.
So I totally understand that.
We are blessed in that we can go online and just hang out with each other.
Exactly.
You mean you're in Germany, for heaven's sake? I'm in New Zealand.
Indeed.
How awesome is the fact that this can even happen? We've got people from all over the world in chat. This is phenomenal to me. And so, And yes, although to be fair, this is also more relevant in some countries than others.
Mostly America.
I have exceptional healthcare and I'm on welfare. So just saying.
I go to the doctor and I don't pay them anything.
Yeah.
Because I live in Germany.
I do have to pay some because it is only subsidized to some degree.
But in Germany,
because of my specific health needs and my mental health, I pay less than $20 to see a doctor. And most adults could be paying anywhere from 40 to 70.
In Germany, I pay nothing to visit a doctor. And I pay 5% or maybe sometimes 10% of the cost of medication.
See, if mine are generic, I get mine for free.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
that's
I get the stuff I take for like $5 for 100 pills or for like 2 or 3 asthma inhalers, or it's negligible.
I went literally last week. I had a doctor's appointment and I had to get my prescriptions all refilled. And I come back from the chemist with a paper bag as big as my head, full of boxes of medication. And I get that just given to me. There's no money changes hands. It's literally, here's the list of the prescription. We have filled them all. Here's the bag.
Yep.
And that's 3 months worth of medication for some reasonably expensive drugs.
I never want to live anywhere else, especially when I get older and actually need more medical care. Right now, I don't really need much. But eventually when I do, I'm going to be, if I'm still in Germany, I'm going to be very happy that I'm in Germany because it's just, it's all covered. And it will be covered also after I retire, even when I'm not working. So, yeah.
I actually have a comment on this one with the dystopia in the US standing in awe of privilege. There's a wonderful thing I saw recently from an American family now living overseas. And they were saying the things that are so very different and how a lot of Americans feel so very strongly about freedoms. And he said, what a lot of Americans don't seem to get is that the rest of the world feels the same way, but Americans want freedom to do things, freedom to have their guns, freedom to vote the way they want, freedom to have big cars that are gas. Everywhere else in the world, they want freedom from. They want freedom from poor health. They want freedom from poverty. They want freedom from fear of guns. And I thought that was possibly the most wonderful way to show the difference in the freedoms, because we kind of have a lot of the same freedoms.
Well, a lot of the difference also, I think, is America is so strongly about the individual. Like the thinking is very individual. I want what I want, and in Germany, it took me a while to really get it, but I realized after a while, most Germans have an extremely large and strong sense of social responsibility.
Yes.
Like they're aware of other people. They're happy to pay some more tax because the guy who's living on the street has healthcare.
And also an awareness that they don't know what's going to happen in their own lives.
Yeah.
So I might need that in future.
Yeah.
My mother might need that. My daughter might need that. My son might need that.
Yeah.
And I could look after myself in the moment, or I could ensure there's a safety net for myself, for my family, because you don't know what's around the next corner.
Yeah.
And it just struck me as a really powerful way to look at it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know many ultra rich people in Germany, so I don't know how they think, but I know a lot of people who are, upper middle class like me, and all of them that I know of think that way. They're like, there are people who are less fortunate than I am. I'm happy to help them out.
Yeah.
I am happy to have free healthcare, even though I pay more tax to have it. I'm very happy that everybody is covered, at least to a certain degree, because we all pay a bit more tax, which helps out the people who can't work or have a mental problem or whatever,
That's in that, because I'm sure that I can't think when they last did it. It might have even been before COVID, when they did the global happiness rankings. Almost without fail, it's the Scandinavian countries where tax rates among the highest in the world, but it's also the place where healthcare is free, and they've got really, really inclusive and expansive rules in their politics, and there's a lot of controls, but everybody's happy because it's like, those controls mean we're all fine.
Yeah, no, it's very even more so than in Germany. Like I lived in Denmark for a while, and being up in Denmark and Sweden and all over there, there's sort of a feeling that everyone's a bit more relaxed than most places I've been, because so many things are kind of taken care of. Like you don't have to worry about a whole bunch of
freedom
things.
From stress, freedom from going bankrupt because you had to go to hospital, freedom from these stresses.
Yeah.
So
Switzerland, Peter, I've got a good friend who one of his favorite things to say. We traveled a lot together, and he used to always say Switzerland would be the best place in the world, except that it's full of Swiss people.
So how the rest of us view Australia? Sorry, that's a very Kiwi joke.
Australia would not be the best place in the world. Like if Australia, if like the usable land in Australia was compressed,
it would be a tiny.
It would be New Zealand.
Tiny country.
It would be New Zealand, basically. Like it's really big
because all of it.
But
the
if you
only
just
part
cut
of it that's
all of the
habitable is the coast.
Yeah, exactly. You cut like 20, 50 kilometers around the entire coast, and then squish it down. It would be New Zealand.
It would. It would be so small. I mean, it's something like they've only got to have the global water table has to only rise by about 1.5 meters, and Australia is now an atoll with a massive sea in the middle.
Yeah,
because most of that is below sea level.
A massive red sea. Yeah,
it would be pretty insane.
Yeah, I would definitely like to not see that happen. Peter is talking about Buddhism.
Yeah.
Oh, Colton. First of all, go up to Colton's comment.
Oh yeah.
Colton, just looking at your profile picture and knowing you a little bit, I know you are a lot younger than me, and I used to also have this idea. And
there is a bloke on BookTube that did this.
It's a really bad idea for almost all people I've ever met. It's a really bad idea. There are some people where it totally fits.
Why read with Joanna not long ago?
Yeah, exactly. I forget his name, but there are some Western monks, but I would never recommend to any Westerner I know to go over there and become a monk. First of all, because you don't need to be a Buddhist you don't need to be a monk to be a Buddhist. You don't need to become a monk to spend some time doing Buddhist things in India, because I did a lot of it, and I'm definitely not a monk. And I can guarantee you, within 5 years, maximum, you would miss all of the things you're not allowed to do because you're a monk. Like sleep with women, drink alcohol, a number of things that, to me, it sounds like a solution to things because you feel like it's simplifying your life. But the reason your life is complicated is your mind. Your life is not complicated because of where you live. Your life is complicated because of your mind. If you get your mind in the right frame of mind, the external conditions of your life don't matter that much anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And that is all possible in the West. So I would recommend instead that you read a good book on Buddhism, that you maybe find someone who can teach you to meditate, that kind of thing. And
I
you
imagine
start
there are Buddhist communities everywhere.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I used to live in the middle of Sydney, and I lived in a Buddhist center.
Well, there you go.
With only Buddhists, and we had meditation twice a week for anyone who wanted to come. And these things exist all over the place. There are also lots of different flavors of Buddhism. So I would
any path is like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea.
Everybody's different.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to try things out. Like my first Buddhism thing, I read a bunch of books by Suzuki, who was a big teacher in Zen Buddhism. And especially one of the Japanese teachers that brought a lot of Zen Buddhism over to the West. He was a teacher of Alan Watts, who was a big American Zen Buddhist. And then I went to a Zen Buddhist group. And oh my God, they were so fucking boring.
That was not what I was expecting you to say. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, they were boring. They were so holy and boring and stiff. It was that group. It's not Zen Buddhism. I'm not judging Zen Buddhism. I am judging that group. That group was boring as fuck. There were a whole bunch of old academics
just not what I was expecting.
Who just couldn't. And I thought, okay, that's not for me. I'm going to fall asleep. And eventually I found a teacher and Buddhist centers that I really liked. So I would just recommend, do not do something crazy and drastic like move to India where you know nothing about the culture, and become a monk where you know nothing about being a monk and it's not part of your culture.
Possibly not the wisest move.
No.
Nor, I'm going to say here, because I've frickin' done it, is having a goat. Don't get a goat. Don't do that. Goats are not fun. They are opinionated, they are stubborn, and they will eat your clothes.
They will eat anything.
If it's male and you are a woman, it will go you. And they're scary because they have horns.
Yeah.
Get yourself a cow. A cow, far more pleasant-natured.
Yeah.
They
Much
will
calmer.
make friends with cats.
They only eat grass.
Cows are actually lovely.
Yeah.
They're really friendly. And they smell nicer than goats, strangely. And yeah, goats are stroppy. Okay. Goats are teenagers with horns.
Yeah.
Don't get goats. Sorry. I didn't know I felt quite that passionate about it. But I do. Don't get goats.
No. No, I definitely, I would never consider, in fact, I would never myself consider getting any animal larger than a dog. But the dog I want is an Irish wolfhound, so that's already pretty big.
That's a horse, man.
Yeah, yeah. I've always wanted a dog I could ride.
Well, that would be cool.
Yeah.
When I was little, we did. We had an English sheepdog, the big Dulux paint dogs. And when I was little, I could ride her. And there are photos of me as a baby doing just that. Which is cool. But no, seriously, Bex, seriously, you don't want a cow. I don't. Blah, blah, blah.
A goat.
A goat. You don't want a goat.
No.
Because just don't. Because much like rats, they are far more intelligent than you realize. And intelligent pets that are that big and destructive.
No.
Don't go there.
No.
Just and to comment on rats is what I loved having rats as pets. They make wonderful pets. They train like a breeze. You can train them to do anything. But I know how smart they are. So now when I see feral rats, they horrify me because I know how smart they are.
Yeah.
Oh shit. If I saw you, there's a whole bunch more of you somewhere else.
Rats are scary, yeah. Yeah. They're not stupid, and they're highly destructive, or can be anyway. I'll be right back.
So smart. Sure. I shall go back and read some of these comments that I have missed. So, what have you got? Only one allowed on top of the Indian restaurant. Oh, I see. It's an either or situation. Petting zoos for goats, good. Someone else can look after the goats, because goats, man, they're hard work. Baby cows are the cutest thing ever. And seriously, they smell good, which is weird. And yet bulls are a little different to cows in that, one, they're boys. And they, unless they're not for breeding purposes, they tend to not live very long, because only bulls for breeding purposes tend to be kept. Otherwise, why would you keep them? And if they're going to be used for stud, then they don't need to be trained to do anything. So they're just obnoxious, big blokes who are just aggressive. Donkeys are lovely. Harold's feeling good. That's good. I'm glad you came by. That's awesome. And what else is fun? Reminds me of the goat in City of Last Chances. I haven't read that one, so I can't comment. You rode a donkey once on Santorini. That's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Cliched thing to do. I'm a little bit jealous. Did your donkey wear a hat with his ears poking through? Because that kind of goes with that. And happy Hogs Watch also to you, Melissa. It's lovely to see you. Way bigger than a goat, yes. Friendly, good stuff. Where are we? You've decided who? Rats of Nim. Did you know, Sal? Sorry, that's one of my favorite life expressions. Did you know that Nim is a real place? But don't look it up unless you haven't eaten for a while, because it is a national, and it was a study on rat behavior, and it's a little bit horrific, frankly. Isn't there a spy rat in Realm of the Elderlings? There's a ferret, and he was part of a bonded pair. And I wouldn't want a pissed off ferret, because even not pissed off ferrets are insane, which is why the whole British joke of having a ferret down your trousers is hilarious, because it really does. The main problem with baby animals is they tend to grow up. I know, and they're also gorgeous when they're, like, even ugly animals tend to be gorgeous when they're babies. They're just like, oh, they're so cute with their little faces. And I just want to squish them because they're so cute. And then they grow up and they're like, oh, yeah, you're not quite so gorgeous anymore. Leave it to the one book. Have you seen the cartoon, Shadia? Donkey had a leadership thing. Because you had a competitive donkey, you were first to the top. I like that for you, and I'm proud of your donkey. Refusing to be second best. I'm a fan of this. I didn't know about them. Yeah, seriously, it's disturbing. Grown animals can be great. It does depend on how they were looked after when they were babies. Because, like anybody, they can be traumatized. There's some animal in 20 Man that is a spy, but you're the expert, so I'll trust you. And 20 Man that's a spy. It's a small dog. It's a small dog. And yeah. Might have been a mule. Don't know how to tell the difference. It depends on which of the parents is the horse. I don't know which way, but that's the difference. I have to jump off. Well, thank you for joining us, Terry. It was lovely to have your company. I hope you have a lovely Christmas tomorrow. Stepped up my friendship to gain spiritual growth. And here I was thinking I was important. I'm teasing. Colton, you do what you think is best for you. Because spiritual growth is important. There you go, Peter's remembering now. Yes, it's a small dog. Yeah. Merry Christmas to Terry. But right, I caught up with the chat. and I'm quite serious about the NIM thing. Be in good headspace before you look at that, because it was traumatizing, frankly. Although kind of weirdly does explain some of the things in the movie, The Secrets of NIM, which shocked me quite a lot as a thing. So, yeah, you're still... Well, you can't be that much here, Britain, because you haven't come to join me. And the link's in Matt's channel. So, just saying. Although, didn't you say you had to do wrapping? That's a conversation. Wrapping presents. I'm good at it. Oh, caught up. Do I agree I'm better than Australia? Well, of course I agree. Actually, no, I don't. There's some wonderful things in Australia. But when me and my girlfriend go through Realm of Reality together, I hope we can discuss it on Discord. Absolutely. Because, to be fair, Peter, there's nothing to say we can't just have a conversation, because the internet is magic and we can totally do that. So I am going to turn on my Kindle and randomly pick a chapter from Hogfather, because it's Christmas and that's what I want to do. And you would think that I would have had the Hogfather already queued up, but I don't. Here we go. No, that's not what I wanted, because my Kindle is not Audible capable. And we'll give that up anyway, because our lovely friend Matt is back.
What were you doing?
I was attempting to call up Hogfather to have a reading.
Yeah, do it.
There we go. I'll get the book version happening on my Kindle.
I will.
They don't have Christmas, they have Hogswatch.
Yes.
This is why we're reading Hogfather.
I will actually drop, because it's getting late here, but I'll listen for a bit anyway.
Nice.
So, pleasure to see you yet again.
It's always a pleasure, Matt. You know that.
Absolutely.
And why does this not want to actually take me to my book? Oh, I'll go the long way around. I
catch you later.
The interface of Kindle. Have I mentioned that?
Yeah, it's not great.
Maybe once or twice.
Maybe. Good luck with your Kindle. See you later. Have a great Christmas.
Enjoy your Christmas. Mwah. Yeah. Okay, so if I go to my books, I have several versions of Audible. And if I then go to, seriously? Home. Thank you. And I want my collections. I hate this so much. Oh, finally, results from your library. Still giving me the... I don't want the Audible version because my Kindle is for reading. I'm getting cross with that now. Go away. I'll give you a brief synopsis of the Hogfather while I let my Kindle think about what it's done. The Hogfather is book 20 of Kindle. No, of Discworld. I should have eaten more breakfast before starting to drink. It is book 20 of Discworld. It is, I think, the third or fourth of the death books within that. But you don't, and I've said this in all places, you don't have to read Discworld in order. If you want to read Hogfather at Christmas, read Hogfather at Christmas. It's fine. Hogfather is a death book, and things have happened where Hogfather, the Discworld equivalent of Father Christmas, hasn't showed up for work on Hogswatch. Bit of a problem there. So rather than let this vacuum of belief exist, Death understands that it needs to be filled. While we figure it out, we still have to make sure Hogfather happens. So he dresses up as Hogfather and takes on that role on Hogswatch Eve, and he delivers the presents to all the girls and boys from the sleigh, which in the Discworld is not pulled by reindeer, but pulled by pigs, thus hogs, thus Hogfather. And the story in general is pretty much about the meaning of Christmas because it's a death book. So it gets very philosophical. And we're talking where the meanings of this time of year have changed, what the Hogfather or Santa Claus has represented through the years, and how that's evolved with the people of the community. And with the Hogfather being missing, they have to reinstill the belief in Hogfather again. One of the subplots is happening at the Wizards University, which is one of the most delightful places because the wizards, who are the faculty of the Unseen University, are completely bonkers. They're brilliant and bonkers, and they are so much fun. Because with the absence of Hogfather, there's a lot of extra belief now, and I quote, sloshing around. And to fill up the gap that has been left by the absence of Hogfather, things that are believed but aren't personified begin to be personified. So we all of a sudden have the Eater of Socks, which is a creature that lives in the laundry and eats unattended socks. We get the Eater of Pencil Remnants because no one ever has the last bit of a pencil. Where do they go? I don't know. And that's a genuine mystery. Since reading this many years ago when it first came out, I have looked for these small pencils and I have never found one. Not one time. Say what you will. Something's eating those pencils. We have the cheerful fairy who's there to back up everybody's spirits. And she does not, in fact, have a chicken on her shoulder. It is the bluebird of happiness. It's a blue chicken. We have the god of hangovers, because if you've got a god of wine, there should be a god of hangovers. He's a fun character to meet. And It's good fun. Aha! My Kindle has learned its lesson. So let's go to a chapter. We will go to, what chapter are we to? What am I talking about? There are no chapters in Discworld. Right, I've just randomly put my reader dot in the middle of the book. Okay. The university's great hall had been set for the Hogswatch night feast. The tables were already groaning under the weight of the cutlery, and it would be hours before any real food was put on them. It was hard to see where it would go, because there's no space at the moment for anything among the drifts of ornamental fruit bowls and forests of wine glasses. The Oh God picked up a menu and turned to the 4th page of the menu. Course 4, mollusks and crustaceans. A medley of lobster, crab, king crab, prawn, shrimp, oyster, clam, giant mussel, green-lipped mussel, thin-lipped mussel, and fighting tiger limpet, with herb and butter dipping sauce. Wine. 3 Wizards Chardonnay, Year of the Talking Frog. Beer, Winkle's Old Peculiar. He put it down. That's 1 course? They're big men in the food department, said Susan. He turned the menu over. On the cover was the university's coat of arms, and over it 3 large letters in ancient script. For reference, this is in the Greek alphabet. Alpha? No, sorry, it's not alpha at all. Eta, beta, pi. Is this some kind of magic word? No, Susan sighed. They put it on all their menus. You might call it the unofficial motto of the university. What does it mean? Eta, beta, pi? Bilious, the name of the Oh God of hangovers. Bilious gave her an expectant look. Yeah? Like eat a better pie? Said Susan. Yeah, that's what you just said, said the Oh God. No, you see, the letters are ancient characters that sound a bit like eat a better pie. Ah, Bilious nodded wisely. I can see that might cause confusion. Susan felt a bit helpless in the face of the look of helpful puzzlement. No, she said. In fact, they are supposed to cause a little bit of confusion, and then you laugh. It's called a pun, or play on words. Eat a beta pie with your mouth, she says. You laugh. Only, in fact, you don't laugh, because you're not supposed to laugh at things like this. Perhaps I could find a glass of milk, the Oh God said helplessly, peering at the huge arrays of jugs and bottles. He'd clearly given up on a sense of humour. I gather the Arch-Chancellor won't have milk in the university, said Susan. He says he knows where it comes from, and it's unhygienic. And that's a man, mind you, who eats 3 eggs for breakfast every day. How do you know about milk, anyway? Oh, I've got memories. Sorry, I've just seen that you're dropping, Sal. Have a wonderful Christmas. Blah, blah, blah. I've got memories, said the Oh God. Not exactly of anything specific, just, memories. Like I know trees usually grow green side up, that kind of thing. I suppose gods just know things. Any special godlike powers? I might be able to turn water into an effervescent drink. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Is that any help? And it's possible I can give people a blinding headache. I need to find out why Grandfather is acting strange. Can't you ask him? He won't tell me. Does he throw up a lot? I shouldn't think so. He doesn't often eat. The occasional curry, once or twice a month. He must be pretty thin. You've no idea. Well then, does he often starve himself? Does he often stare at himself in the mirror and say, "Ah"? stick out his tongue and wonder why it's gone yellow? You see, it's possible I might have some measure of influence over people who are hungover. If he's been drinking a lot, I might be able to find him. I can't see him doing any of those things. I think I'd better tell you. My grandfather is death. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. No, I said death. Sorry? Death. You know, death. You mean the robes, the scythe, the white horse bones? Yes, death. I just want to make sure I've got this clear, said the oh God in a reasonable tone of voice. You think your grandfather is death, and you think he's acting strangely. Because Terry Pratchett has absolutely got a character who is the granddaughter of death. Yeah. And hello, avid book junkie. I am slightly tiddly because I had a drink far too early in the day after having breakfast, because it's Christmas and I can. And yes, Colton, pune or play on words is one of those running jokes in the Discworld, because there are lots of punes. And yeah, and Eater Beater Pie is, again, one of the better ones. The Wizards of Unseen University, their sheer bonkersness is just such a delight. Not far from this point in the story, the wizards decide that to make the oh God of hangovers slightly more useful to have around, they need him to not actually be hungover. And in the very classic comedy routine of it all, after all of them stating all of the awful ways they know of to sober up after an awful night, after a wonderful night out, and then they're feeling awful, the wisdom of the ages that suggests we'll just put all of them in one big mug comes to the party, and they create the uber sober potion, which is rather glorious. The final ingredient of which is wow wow sauce, which has to be kept on ice and should not be used when the bottle is dripping. So, you know, just for safety's sake. And yeah, it is quite fun, because when the God of Hangover drinks this potion, it's not even so much that he becomes sober, it's that the effect of the hangover gets given back to the God of Wine, who presently is drinking a multi-hued drink out of a very large glass with a paper umbrella and a piece of pineapple coquettishly dangling off the edge of the glass. It's a wonderful moment to read. But yes, so we meet a lot of very strange people in the Hogfather, or not people, as the case may be. There is the well, I mean, if you can have a tooth fairy, why isn't there a Veruca gnome? Teeth fairy come into bedrooms at night and give children money for their teeth. Surely there must be Veruca gnomes that wander around public bathrooms and give people foot fungus. We meet the Veruca gnome. We meet the hair loss fairy, because, you know, weaving the hair that they mow off your head into mats to block the bathroom drain. Someone has to do it. Must surely be the hair loss fairy. And yes, the Hogfather does have an assassin in it, because that's the story that causes the loss of the Hogfather. His name is Mr. Teatame, or Tea Time, depending on who's reading. And he has a glass eye. That's not the creepy one. And he has a special way of looking at the world. He's a very twisted man. But he encounters some very shady people in Ankh-Morpork, and variously named Chicken Wire, Banjo, Medium Dave, because obviously Big Dave, Little Dave, you know, Scotch Dave, Welsh, you know, they're all taken. There's lots of Daves. He's Medium Dave. Medium Dave, Mr. Brown, the safecracker with his little brown leather bag full of tiny fiddly tools, for which will cost you 1/10 of whatever's in the safe, because without him, you could still be there in 100 years. Nobody gets nothing. So he's fun. We meet Violet, the Tooth Fairy, Susan, of course, the granddaughter of Death, and Binky. Binky is Death's horse and is just wonderful. And as a personal aside, I know parents who, when they got their child a rocking horse, painted it accordingly and named it Binky. And the fact that this child had Death's horse as a rocking horse continues to tickle me to this day, because absolutely, a child should absolutely have Death's horse to ride. Death of Rats shows up in Hogfather. He is born, created, brought to existence in the second Death book, Reaper Man. And he is the anthropomorphized ratification of the death of rats. And much like Death, who speaks in all caps, in bold, he speaks in big, deep voice, so does the death of rats. But instead of just speaking sentences in all caps, all he says is squeak, in much the same way that the librarian of the Unseen University, who is an orangutan, this is a lot of oddness all in one go. You get all of this in bits. And yes, this is Sir Terry Pratchett. The orangutan doesn't speak because he's an orangutan, but he does speak in that he uses the word ook to much effect. Thank you, Matt. Yes, he does indeed. And thank you, Daniel. Ook, indeed. Ook is a very multifunctional word and can be used to mean very many things. He is working on a dictionary, orangutan, and the librarian is struggling. He's struggling to accurately translate the ooks for the rest of the world. But it's a thing. He is resisting actively him being changed back into he was once a human, and he's resisting having that faulty spell reversed because he quite likes being a librarian with 2 sets of arms. It makes it very easy for him to restock the shelves in the difficult sections. It helps when you've got the strength of an orangutan. So some of those grimoires can be a bit aggressive. So, and yes, Colton, squeak, indeed. Death of Rats is fun. We also see Death of Rats' mount. Like I mentioned, we meet Binky, Death's horse, who is just marvelous. He's just wonderful. The Death of Rats also has a mount. His is a bird. He has a raven. He has a raven called Quoth, and he's obsessed with eyeballs because he's a raven. He likes to eat eyeballs. So anything even vaguely eyeball-shaped becomes an attempted meal. And he's feeling very left out this Hogswatch because robins, those twits of birds, robins, get all the attention at Hogswatch because, you know, they're on the Christmas cards. Hogswatch cards. They're on the Hogswatch cards. So he's decided he has to become more appealing to get all of the treats that are left out for robins because, you know, you get birdseed left out for robins in winter, but not for ravens. There's plenty of eyeballs for ravens. They can feed themselves. He would quite like some seeds. So he actually steals some wrapping paper, some red wrapping paper, and makes it into a bib for himself. This raven. He's a character. You meet him in the very first Death book. You meet him in Mort. He, at the time, is working for a wizard out in Stow-Hallet. So, ook might be a greater word than most of our modern day politicians can use. It is because it can, of course, be used in so very many ways. One of them is an antagonist. Well, yes. Robins are very cool, but it has recently come to my attention that I can't tell the difference between a robin and a bullfinch. Doesn't a bullfinch have that weird little crest? Or am I mad? I don't in any way pretend to know anything about birds. But I thought that was the case. I don't know. However, explanations could convince anyone. I can only hope. If I can get a handful of people to read Discworld who wouldn't ordinarily, that's a win, because these books are just such remarkable fun. They really are. I do remember reading the tweets when Terry died, when Death took Terry with him. Yes. They were well done. Bullfinches are finches. It's the shape. The only difference is the shape. The colours are the same. Oh, okay. Then I quite rightly then was wrong. How do I manage to come up with these sentences? Quite rightly, I was wrong. I don't know. However, but yes, we did get Matt to start the City Watch, which made both of us very gleeful because you did enjoy it, and it's wonderful. You liked Neil Gaiman's anecdote on how he basically got Terry to write Discworld. Yes. And he didn't even add, it's called Mort. He just hung up after you bastard, because he had planned to stop writing anymore within Discworld. And Neil basically said, but I actually really like death. Could you just write one more about death? That'd be great. And he was in the middle of writing, or rather trying to get back to a science fiction novel that later became Nation. And then he couldn't stop thinking about this call for more of death. And the story Mort was born. And yeah, he did. He just rang Neil Gaiman. That was the only word spoken. You bastard. And hung up. It's one of my favorite stories because obviously it gave us Discworld. And you couldn't know that would make me emotional, because how would you? Because you haven't read any Discworld yet. One day you will understand why that hit quite so hard. I can only imagine a world where Pratchett and Hobb wrote a deep character study comedy together. I don't think I could cope with that, honestly. I really don't. The character work the two of them are capable of individually would equal something else entirely. That it's a start. However, as you can see, Matt has started, and no longer do I give him grief about Discworld because he's in now. He's in now. He'll keep going on his own. I don't have to pester him now. The witches, especially the later ones, are for people who have to deal with real things, and true magic is something quite uncommon, despite being so accessible. You're quite right. I particularly love the witches because they deal with the real world. They deal with birth, and they deal with death, and they deal with illness, and they deal with the elderly. And they get through, and they help other people get through, and they find moments of ridiculousness in the way human beings behave. If you're brave and you go into the very earliest witch books, which is what I call part of the beta testing stage of Discworld, and read Equal Rights, it's a pretty good indication of where the witches will go. I prefer people to start with Weird Sisters for the witches, and that is quite simply the most glorious collection of witches. And the way human beings like to lie to ourselves is looked at with just such pinpoint precision. Marvelous. After reading Tawny Man trilogy, I forever hate Starling. So do I. I agree with this take. However, Hobbs' comedy is very rarely commented on. Oh, she has moments that are so incredibly funny, and a little like Terry Pratchett. You need to have context for it to be funny. Just out of the blue, not necessarily it's funny. It's literally because you know the characters, you know the things that bother them, you know the things that they want and they like and they love, that when she does do comedy, it hits really well. Here you go. Matt's not only started 3 books in, and own all the City Watch in the lovely mini hardbacks, which are these lovely jobbies with, they cash in the sun really nicely, with this lovely little bit of foiling. They all have different bits of foiling. And these are, I think, maybe only even $1 more than a standard paperback. And they're all beautifully bound. The earlier ones that were still being published by Gollancz have the ribbon. The later ones don't, but they are all bound in this beautiful, beautiful hardcover, naked hardcover, and they're readily available. If you do have the wherewithal to shop from the Discworld Emporium, which is in Wincanton in the UK, you will get a parcel that just warms the cockles of your heart, because it will have some stamps from Discworld. It will have been checked by the Thieves Guild. And yeah, so if you can afford the shipping, it's worth it, I think. Not only to support the local shop that Terry helped create into this Discworld Emporium, but because you get all these wonderful little additions. Anyway, Carlton, what's your problem with Starling? She's no virtuous woman, but Fitz needed her. No, he didn't. Sorry. I love Starling. Really? Okay. Starlings are beautiful birds. This is quite right. I think you think I would like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. It's long but delightful. I have actually got that in the ephemeral list because I do think I will enjoy that. And there you go. Shadia agrees. And a lot of people have mentioned that as being a book that I would really like. So, but yes. So I'm in Colton's camp regarding the character of Starling. There are reasons, and most of them are about respect. So there you go. Shadia also does not like Starling. Yes, the parcels are simply wonderful because you feel like you're part of somehow being attached to Discworld. It's wonderful. Did you know that when I literally just said it, the suburb that they come from, it has been sistered to Ankh-Morpork, and a lot of the streets in that city, town in the UK are the same as in Ankh-Morpork. It's wonderful. And you dislike Molly. That one I will push back on a little, but I also understand it because it took me a long time to warm to Molly. Most of mine came down to Fitz doesn't show Molly who he really is. So the things I don't like about Molly in the early books grow out of the fact that she can't know Fitz properly because he hasn't shown her who he is. So that's my issue with Molly until Evie quite rightly put me right. Starling as a character, as a person, not so much. Thank you. I mean, she is written really well, and this is it. She's no respect, no loyalty, and that's what gets me. Horrible person, still one of my favorite female characters. Hobb seems to have intentionally written Starling as a... Yes, she does. She is always very deliberate with her female characters, and it's something that is easier to see in the female characters in live ships, particularly because they so directly address trauma. Starling has dealt with some rather horrible trauma, and much like the women in live ships, her behavior afterward is born of that trauma, and Starling's reactions are as real and as valid and as natural as all of the women in live ships. It's more difficult to see the direct connection, though, for Starling, because we're not so intimately connected with her, whereas the women in live ships, we get their points of view, whereas we don't with Starling. So while I understand a lot of her behavior and I can see how she reaches her own justification for the ways that she behaves and reacts, their behaviors and reactions that I don't respect and I don't like. So, okay. Molly loves her image of what she wants her life to be. She had no claim on Fitz. He wasn't what she loved. Molly loves the Fitz she knows as New Boy. She doesn't know Fitz. She never really meets Fitz until very late in the piece. And then I think quite rightly, she's hurt by the fact that I'm not even part enough of your life for you to have given me any of the truth. I can't trust you. I can't trust you to be there for me. And then he proves it by saying, I can't be there for you right now. Maybe later. But he's young and he's stupid and he's not actually thinking. And she withholds information from him that's important because she doesn't trust him. So, and I just think that that's all really valid. No, fair enough. And the final trilogy will help, I think, explain a lot of Molly and Fitz's interactions, because that does get addressed. And I prefer anyone with Burrick, because I would marry Burrick in a heartbeat. I love that man. I would die for that man. Just saying. Yeah, read on. I love it. The jump from Malta and Althea to more Starling really lets you see how awful her actions are. Another brilliant series structure point. Exactly. Because you've got these women dealing in remarkably healthy ways after trauma. Even as we've also seen Sarissa in the same Live Ships trilogy behaving very similarly to Starling in terms of what it does to her belief in power and power structures. So yeah, it's the whole thing around trauma and the ways that women can react, do react, might react, often do react after that level of trauma, and how it can make some women more gracious, more accepting, more emotional, empathic, and some women become very closed off, very hard, very transactional. So yeah, that's the thing. And Fitz loved her though. He did. He was also a teenage boy. So there's a level of obsession that comes with that. All of us have been teenagers, let's face it. None of us were very logical with our first loves, where it was all consuming, all passionate, and nothing existed beyond. So yeah, maybe too much. Puts up with quite a lot. Starling is the worst, but very well written. Yes, I think Starling is my least favourite character. No, I wouldn't say she's my least favourite character, but I think she's possibly the one I'm most disappointed in. Because the hurt that she causes in Tawny Man it's a foundational kind of hurt, because it attacks unintentionally. It speaks to Fitz's self-worth, which, I'm a bit precious about to begin with. So it feels like a very personal attack that she does this. So, again, it comes from good writing. Hi, Nathan, how are you? Yes, I was speaking about the fact that there's reasons for why Molly does what she does, and it needs to get to Fitz in the Fall to really flesh out that understanding of that dynamic, because that's really where we get the full picture. So, no context for any of this. Well, I'm sorry, Britain, but this is my channel. So a reasonable amount of talk about Realm of the Elderlings can probably be expected. Just saying. And you could read it and join the discussion. Okay, who we got here? Hey, this is part of being part of the community, Britain, is the books that you haven't read all have champions. And if you were reading our books, those books have their champions, and they would be after you to read them. It's part of, you just have to go, okay, that's fine. Somebody's going to be giving me grief for what I'm not reading. It's just how it is. Speaking of Hogfather, there is no better present than a future. This is exactly right. I am the Hogfather. I can do this. Totally. Here we go. Totally understood Molly and Farsi. So did I. I got it. Even back in the days where I didn't think much of her as a character, I still understood her motivations in Farseer. I was like, that makes perfect sense to me. Perfect sense to me. Starling is irrationally mean in Fool's Errand and Goldenfall. She's going through some stuff, you know, and this is the thing. She's well written. And though I don't like some of the things that she does, she's written well enough that I understand why she's doing what she's doing. So Starling disregards Fitz's feelings, but he didn't need that at that point in time. No, he didn't. And I think partly too, involving Hap in the revelation was cruel. She's a minstrel. Words are a tool of her trade. She knows what that's going to do. There's that cruelty was deliberate, and I'm not okay with that. Molly, like all girls versus boys, far more mature, earlier than Fitz. She does have realistic thoughts about her future. Keep in mind, she has been supporting her father through his alcoholism and early death. She has tried to keep a business running. She's had to look after herself. Fitz lives in a castle and has all of his basic needs given to him. He has a totally different reality. So there you go. There's a lot of naughty children in Discworld. There are a lot of children in Discworld where there is a different understanding. At one point, a small child asks the Hogfather, aka Death, for a sword for Christmas. And he gives her one. And her mother's like, you can't give her that. It's dangerous. Yes, it is a sword. She's a child. She doesn't know how to use a sword. It will be a learning experience. There's an understanding that children are just very vicious little people. Just saying. Loved her since far. You are, in fact, an OG Molly fan. And I respect that greatly because I came to it late. So, well done. Good reading, Anita. Good reading. Molly is the best. She is wonderful. But we all need to believe in all that. Mercy, justice, duty. Or what's the point? My point exactly, said Death. It is remarkable, that entire section, because fairy tales, imagination, belief in justice and in fairness, and is where the falling angel meets the rising ape. And I love that. I do. I think it's marvelous. And you haven't read the last trilogy yet. Yes, you need to. Farseer Molly is adorable. I think she's just a sweetheart. Fitz had so much on his plate in Farseer. He didn't have time for Molly, and he was a boy. Following, yes, exactly. He was a young man, and I'm not even going to make it shallow. He properly adored Molly. It wasn't just about getting his end away. He adored Molly. He thought the absolute world of Molly. But in trying to protect Molly, he hid a lot of himself from Molly. And that's not what love is. Love is one of those awful warts and all thing. And in not being honest with Molly, in hiding so much of himself, it made her feel less. Because as she started to discover more about him, she realized how small a part of his life she was, and felt, rightly so to some degree, worthless. She's like, well, how can I be important to you if all of these things take precedence over me? She's, yeah. How cool is Ketchikan, though? So freaking cool. Sorry. Yes. You are quite right. Ketchikan is indeed amazing. You like that? Getting excited about Discworld? Good. You should be. It's amazing. Britain. If you read all the Discworld books, you can have House of Dialogue just by quoting. Oh, so many hours of dialogue just by quoting. And be able to look at a great many things through very strange lenses that you never considered before. There's an aspect to Discworld dwarven culture that I just find delightful, in that all of Discworld dwarves are him. There's no gender separation. They're all him. And so it does mean that courting between dwarves is a very sensitive matter. Nobody needs to know who's male or female. It just means they're all very delicate. So me, what that says is it also means that same gendered partnerships are completely ignored because they're all just dwarfs. And that I thought was just fantastic. And then we had one of the storylines is a dwarf who wants to be seen as female. There is no female in dwarven culture. So it was a really interesting take because on the one hand, I see it as this very accepting, we're all just dwarves that happen to be called him. And on the other, it was such an exclusionary way of culture that half of your community doesn't feel seen. And both can exist at the same time. Terry, he's a genius. Absolute genius. Of Neil and Terry, I always found Terry smarter and Neil more suave. There is a wonderful photo of the two of them doing press for Good Omens back in the day. And Terry's in a white suit with a white hat, and Neil's in a black suit with a black hat. And there's something about that photo that just captures that friendship. And yeah, it's great. Do you feel Starling redeems herself after all the hurt she causes Fitz? I haven't read the last trilogy. Then why do you think I'm going to answer you, Colton? I mean, come on. You have to read the last trilogy. For closure on anything in this series, you have to read the last trilogy. And you are more than welcome, Peter. And I'm glad that you came. It's been wonderful having you. Have a fabulous Christmas. And if I don't see you in the next week, have a wonderful new year. I will see you in 2025. Stay safe. Okay. The dwarves were very interesting by the fact that they fell in love, got married, and then they learned what sex they were in the wedding night. And that's what I found so charming, was that it wasn't deemed of vast importance. It was I don't know, it was just like some additional bit of information you found out later. It wasn't important. I just, there was something really amazing to me about that. Yeah. I don't know why. It just struck me as a really beautiful thing. Neil's more punk rock while Terry seems to have a Victorian cowboy thing going. Read more Terry, because Terry's pretty frickin' punk rock. He's an anarchist of highest degree. Because, yeah. He's very much a power of the people kind of man. Very interesting man, Sir Terry. And he has some remarkably poignant things to say about people in general. In his Science of Discworld books that sort of sit alongside the series, which are marvelous in their own right, don't get me wrong, they're freaking brilliant. He talks about the fact that as a species, we're called Homo sapien, and why that it's called that in terms of linguistics. And he argues the point that we should be called Naran's something, but basically storytelling ape, because that was what stands us apart from other evolved mammals. And the orangutans highly intelligent, gorillas highly intelligent, dolphins highly intelligent, but our storytelling, that reach for something beyond ourselves, this idea of the rising ape meeting the falling angel, is what defines us as a species. And I just loved that so very much. But yeah, I found something similar in Anne Rice. It was not about sex, but companionship. Of course, they ruined that in the TV series. Well, yes, there is also an argument to be had there that for Anne, it was about sex, and there was a very homoerotic nature of relationship happening in the vampire novels, and some of her other writing kind of expands on her spicier thoughts. Just saying, some of them are quite good. Others not so much, but some of them are quite good. It's been a while since I've read them, so I don't even necessarily remember which was which, but she had a dirty mind. Just saying. But there is definitely an element where the dwarves have it right, where you love the person, not necessarily the person's shell, and which is a theme of Realm of the Elderlings, obviously, where we've got these frequent discussions about physical attraction and emotional attraction and what is love, what does it look like, what does it sound like, what is it doing for people. And yeah, it was just the most wonderfully remarkable thing. There's a discussion had in Assassin's Quest where gender has been called into question for a character, and their response is, I shouldn't have to prove what I have in terms of genitals. Why should I have to prove that? I'm not going to. You can think what you like. And Fitz needs to know. Fitz like, but I need to know. What are you? Why do you need to know? Do you love Molly because she is shaped this way between her legs? No. What do you love about Molly? And he lists off all these things he loves about Molly. Would you still love Molly if she was not a woman, but still had all of these things? And Fitz doesn't know how to answer this because he hasn't ever really thought about it. And to me, that's the nature of love. So, you know, you love a person. Whatever shape they happen to inhabit is the shape they live in. Doesn't change the fact that you love this person. However, okay, the charming of... Yeah, that might well be it, actually. Re-downloaded Farseer to be reread ASAP. Hooray! Excellent. I want to try Angela Carter for similar reasons. Erotic fairy tales. There's some really good erotica out there, but there's also a really lot of rubbish. And there's far more rubbish than good. So I might have to point you in the direction of some erotica booktubers, because they exist. Top 3 Discworld books. I can't give you that. It depends on the day. It depends on what I'm reading, what I'm feeling, how I've slept. So yeah, what time of year it is, because obviously this time of year Hogfather's right up there. So Peter, I changed my mind. I had to come back on my phone. Yay! Assassin's Quest is arguably my favorite book of the series. Yes. And you will find, particularly as you reread with your girlfriend, Assassin's Quest is going to change a lot. It is, to my opinion, the most value in reread of all of the books in the series that you reread. The amount more value you get in Assassin's Quest on a second read is astonishing. So I'm kind of excited you're doing a reread. Love is blind to things like gender. If I were Fitz, I'd have loved the shit out of the fool. Yes. So also would I. Erotica is a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. It's just a pleasure of mine. I refuse to feel guilty for it. There are authors who are very, very good at it, and there are authors that are very, very not. And finding them can be reading a lot of shit. However, if you would like some spicy fantasy or well done erotic fantasy, I can highly recommend Nalini Singh. She is a Fijian Indian woman. She lives in New Zealand. She has really long series. One of them is Psy Changeling, and one of them is Guild Hunter, and she's just branched out into thrillers. I only have one of them and I haven't read it yet. The Psy Changeling is the one I've read first, and I got into for the spice. By about book 4, the spice was secondary. The overall telling of the story, fantastic. Great story, great ongoing threads. Yeah, highly recommend. Bigfoot erotica. There's some of that out there. Kelsingra. Yes. Yes. No, you didn't spell it wrong. It's exactly right. And yes, this is part of where the value in Assassin's Quest will come. Favorite doctors. Okay. Well, my doctor, when we talk about my first doctor was Tom Baker. And he sent out an almost heartbreaking Christmas message because he's so frail looking now. I was like, oh my God, if he's that old, how old am I? Oh, so old. Anyway, it was lovely to see him, that he's still reasonably hale and hearty, but he's so tiny now. Anyway, but yes, Tom Baker was my childhood doctor. As we came into New Who, it was for the longest time David Tennant, and then Matt Smith. And Matt Smith and David Tennant, it depends on which episode, ultimately, because I think they're both on par with each other. They're both excellent actors and were able to bring something more to the Doctor. I did particularly enjoy Michelle Gomez as Missy. Brilliant. Loved her. Fabulous. Okay. I love that. Who cares about gender when love is such a strong emotion? Precisely. Love who you want and screw anyone that gets in between. Exactly. People get so bigoted about love. Gender, age, mean. And this is the thing. Real love, and love is a very odd thing to try and put a description around. Love is a feeling, and ultimately is what are the limits on what you would do for this person. And so you can love people enough to die for them, but have it mean very different things. I would die for my children in a heartbeat. Absolutely, in a heartbeat. My best friend, I would die for her in a heartbeat. Do I love her the same way as I love my children? Not at all. Very different things. And so love is a very strange, ephemeral thing that means something different depending on who you feel it for. And there are times, if you're lucky enough, where you love somebody just so much that you just don't want any boundaries at all between you. And it's that whole thing, isn't it? That really cliched expression, when mummy and daddy love each other very much and they give each other special cuddles. How much of that is that you literally just want to be inside that other person's skin because you just can't get close enough to them? So this sense that it's about interlocking genitals is mostly fluke. So, Okay. Missy. She's just fabulous. I love her. You're very good at loving fictional characters. I hear you. I absolutely hear you. Technically, Tom Baker was your first Doctor, but you grew up with Tennant, Smith, and Capaldi. Yeah, and a lot of people did. I actually have really strong memories of Tom Baker's Doctor. And I was a fan of Doctor Who before its resurgence. So I feel very strongly that I can say he was my first Doctor. And he was what gave me the love of the Doctor to come back when it was rebooted. So, but Tennant, Smith, and Capaldi, I loved his angry Doctor. I loved it. That just staunchness of him. And, attack eyebrows. I love that so much. Attack eyebrows. Perfect. Sadly, Jodie Whittaker was let down by showrunners. She didn't really get the stories she was capable of. I think she could have done much better with the Doctor had she been given that meat that Matt and David were given. They were given some just phenomenal storylines to work with, and actors. I mean, they got to work with Alex Kingston and Karen Gillian and just so many amazing people. I mean, Catherine Tate and David Tennant together, just magic, and Jodie Whittaker wasn't gifted that in the same way. And I think that's really sad, because I think she could have done as defining a Doctor as anybody else. So I feel like she was let down a bit by showrunners. I don't think I can ever forgive Starling. And that's kind of where my mindset is. It's that at this point, All correspondence is closed. No further, nothing further will be entered into. I have made up my mind. But, you know, I accept that that's a flaw in my personality. but you know, people agree with me, so I'm not alone. Matt Smith got screwed by writers too, particularly by the end of his run. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. He had some wonderful, wonderful episodes. And I have to remember that, as I say this, modern Who fans are particularly spoiled. That run of that first season with Christopher Eccleston, and then we had that remarkable run with David Tennant, with such amazing performances, with such amazing storylines, that the bar was set incredibly high. So for speaking for myself and Doctor Who fans sort of around my age and older, we always knew when that was happening that what we're seeing is remarkable. This is not the norm. This consistently high level of amazing is not usual. Matt Smith, we're getting more into, okay, yeah, this is more what it is. This is the slightly more madcap balancing it out. And that felt more normal to me when we got those shifting into for words for Matt Smith. And I think he did a really good job. But I just think if I'm going to point anybody out for being let down by writing, it was Jodie Whittaker. You know, there was opportunities in specific story arcs, in specific episodes for Matt Smith, David Tennant, and Christopher Eccleston to really shine, to really bring an A game and bring something tremendous to the role. And Jodie didn't get those chances. And that's a sadness to me. Never seen Doctor Who? That's a shame. Are we admitting that? On my channel? It's a risk. It's definitely a risk. And that's fine. The Doctor is a very specific thing. And there's an odd kind of acceptance you have to go into Doctor Who with. Some episodes are just going to be silly. They're going to just be like, really? There are people who obsess over this show? What the hell? And that can run for however long. And then every now and then there'll be an episode that just wallops you in the feels or in the brain with a theory or a thought or a mindset that it wants to highlight. And you're really told, this is what good telly can be. So I tend to think the standalone adventures tend to be better than the storylines. I went back and rewatched Who a little while ago. Some of those earlier seasons hold up really well. They really, really do. Because the acting is there, the writing is there. They were really blessed. They had a whole production crew behind them that really wanted this to succeed. By the time we get into Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker, and now with Ncuti Gatwa, they're not necessarily resting on laurels, but they're kind of taking for granted the fact that they've got a bit of leeway. They've got this big audience and they can... I don't know, I don't feel like the pressure's quite the same as it was in those first few reboot series. So, but yeah. They let Whittaker down. It wasn't a good idea to give them brand new Doctor, 3 new companions. No, it wasn't. And this is what I say. They really let Jodie down. They didn't trust her to take that on with one companion. They didn't trust her to do what they trust other people with, because she was the first female Doctor. There was going to be all this pressure. Let her hold that pressure. Let her show the fans that of course she can do it. The Doctor, as we were saying earlier around gender and love, the Doctor doesn't have a gender. He happens to regenerate into a male or female human form. It's a bit of a different thing. So Capaldi too. He did get some good stories. I wasn't a fan of Clara. I wasn't a huge fan of Clara. And I think that's more because I wasn't a fan of the girl, because I was too familiar with her from EastEnders. So, yeah, that's just me. Anything from Matt Smith? Me too. When I heard he'd been cast in House of the Dragon a few years ago, I was so happy. I was like, oh, he's going to knock that shit out of the park. And then he swaggers on into the throne room, and I was like, oh, yes, I am here for this. So I'm very much looking forward to season 3 of that. Sucks that Eccleston and Davies didn't get along. I would have loved to see Eccleston as the Doctor some more. I think a lot of people would have done. He also, what can I say here? Because I liked Christopher Eccleston, but it was very much a role his agent pushed for, rather than one he particularly wanted for himself. I think he, and this is pure speculation on my part, and I don't know Christopher Eccleston. I could be completely wrong, but I think he felt it was a bit of a step down for a proper actor. So, yeah. The First Doctor and Tennant were my favourites. Then I have more to watch. You do. And there's some remarkable arcs coming. So, reason to like Doctor Who. One episode has a group of Shaolin monks who are led by a werewolf who wanted to bite Queen Victoria. Aliens are involved. Yes. And there was a wonderful selection of memes back when Prince William and Catherine were about to have their first baby. And there was a wonderful meme that went around that said, here's everyone waiting to find out if it's a boy or a girl, and us Whovians. And there's a picture of a puppy wearing a baby bonnet. It was so good. So good. Star Trek is your opium. You'll rewatch it on repeat forever. Then I have a question for you, because apparently I'm in the minority. As a really big Star Trek fan, and I'm not going to say I'm like a massive fan, but I'm a pretty big fan. I really like the J.J. Abrams films. Does that make me evil? I can't decide. But I loved Carl Urban's Bones. I loved it. Loved it so much. I thought Zachary Quinto's Spock, magic. Zoe Saldana as Uhura. Oh my God, she was just wonderful. I loved that so much. And even Chris, what's his name? One of the Chris's. Chris Pine. He was pretty good at Kirk. In fact, the weakest link for me is probably Simon Pegg, and only because he's Simon Pegg. and so it's hard for me to take him out of being Simon Pegg to be Scotty. So, yeah. Thoughts? Star Trek's awesome. Yes. Deep Space Nine's your favourite. That's totally allowed. Such a fan. Evie's back. Hello.
And I have alcohol.
It's a party in the house.
So,
nice.
Fair warning, I'm completely sober right now, so if I start getting sappy, just know it's truth. So.
Alrighty. We're getting real. I'm a fan. Were you ever a Trekkie?
No, what was the Star Trek that I watched? I think it was Next Generation. My grandmother would watch. Like, she would always.
Oh, yeah.
Next Generation, CSI Miami, and
Miami.
Ugh. Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
And
that was the David Caruso one, right?
Yes. And Bones, she would have that on all the time. So
nice. Sorry, just catching up. Lots of Doctor Who, 7 of 9. Yay! I liked her. So fabulous. Doctor 7. Nice. Abrams films are fun. I felt like rehashes of the old movies for me. The Khan one was just, why? Because iconic character who had been set up prior to the timeline reboot of the first Star Trek film, so had to be addressed in the second one using a new time frame paradigm. That's why. That sentence even made sense. Look at me doing that. Oh, she saw that. We are Borg.
Hi, Tharnal. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah. It's lovely to have Tharnal here, because I thought for a little while that we wouldn't have Tharnal here for the day, and I was like, was kind of looking forward to that. You need to see some old Who. You do need to see some old Who, if only to give you a scale of expectation, and why David Tennant's Doctor Who blew so many of my generation Doctor Who fans out of the water, because we were all like, we could have been having this. I mean, come on, it was exceptional. Supposedly Eccleston left because the producers and a few of the actors were very unprofessional, which kind of comes back to what I was saying about Christopher Eccleston felt that this was a step down for him. So I don't know necessarily that it was a clash of minds so much as a clash of culture, and that he thought he should be doing something else. So, the newest Star Trek Strange New Worlds is the best thing I've seen on TV in recent years. I will begin watching almost immediately, because obviously right now I'm streaming, but I shall definitely now give that a look, because I believe you. I don't know anybody in my real life who follows anything even remotely related to science fiction or fantasy. So, an opinion I can trust. I love that. And also, it's after midnight, have to go. Merry Christmas.
Also,
be safe. Mwah. Have a wonderful day. Okay, if Eva gets drunk, we're all getting Mel Brooks references.
Wait, what's that Mel Brooks reference? Because apparently I'm not forgetting, or I'm not remembering it. But also, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
It's a matter of when.
Because I can't hold my liquor. I'm
guessing it will have Madeline Kahn.
Oh.
Because a little birdie might have told me, that little birdie might have been you, that fan.
I mean, there are bigger fans than me, because I haven't watched all of her films, but
I mean, she is amazing.
I'm so tired. I can't even do the voice. Like, she's just amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Step on the right foot. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. History of the World Part 1, Empress Nympho, by the way. Also, Colton, even though you're shit-faced right now, actually, maybe because you're shit-faced right now, I just want you to know extra how much I appreciate you, how much I appreciate you nagging me and everyone else to read Boy's Life. It was one of the best reads I've had this year, so thank you, Colton, for that.
I want to see Lower Decks. I haven't seen almost any of the newest Trek iterations, mostly because I've been a bit frightened of these expanded universes after I got so burnt out with Marvel. But yeah, Jack Quaid's great. Hey, you me a cow and a goat. Well done. You get points, Mix. Points. You have shown up for the feed. Look at that. Any one of them will do? Okay. Bookish Homestead, we are there. Nice. After midnight here too, but we're going to stay for Drunk Evie.
I mean, Chadia, if you need rest, you please sleep. But
to be fair, what are your plans for tomorrow?
Sure there is a very strong chance that I will be sending alcohol influenced messages in Discord. So I'm sorry, like ahead of time. So
we need a new. I suppose we can call it drunk discording, because my mum was one for drunk dialing. She was terrible for that. We used to get massive phone bills after she would get drunk. Peaked with Deep Space Nine, do you think? I liked Deep Space Nine. I think more for the depth it gave us to some of the characters. I liked seeing more of O'Brien. Loved seeing him get actual screen time. And I liked getting Worf and Jadzia. I loved Jadzia. She was amazing. Dax was pretty good. but we got to meet Dax as part of Ezra as well, and I wasn't such a fan of that one. So it clearly then was Jadzia, who was my favorite part of that particular symbiotic relationship. So yeah. Who peaks with Tennant? I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the Tennant, there's a whole period of time between Tennant and Smith, the other magic seasons. Getting a drink for yourself, nice. We could all get drunk together. Car pulled over here. You can't drive home. You'll have to stay over, Bex. You'll just have to stay.
To change the topic back to reading. So I was talking to Aaron while we were having dinner, which was frozen pizza and fries and chicken wings, by the way, because we're doing the roast tomorrow. Yeah, he has no interest in reading Dungeon Crawler Carl, which even sober is really hard to say with my tongue.
It's a shame because it's really that good.
And he is willing to read Elder Race and the Kin Liu short stories, The Legends of Luke Skywalker.
Okay, so you've actually made a lot of progress here.
So, he's willing, but he keeps putting like goalposts of like, hey, I want to read this other book first. I want to read this other book first. And now he's saying, I would rather read the Dark Lord trilogy, which we've been wanting to read. I've been trying to get him to read with me for at least a year now. Okay. But he never sits down to read. Like literally, I wanted to read a little bit earlier over the weekend when I was doing sprints downstairs, and the only way I could get him to read was if I did sprints downstairs. And he's like, "Well, I want to spend time with you," but he didn't want to be on camera, so and I needed quiet to be able to read and talk to people on Discord, and so he read during the sprint off camera. But he gets bored after like an hour. He's like, I'm done.
That's okay. Even if he only does one sprint every couple of days.
He's never going to finish that book.
And I'm with Ron here. I have read Ron here. With Ron. Try audiobooks. I tell you what, get him on the audio of Dungeon Crawler Carl, and that's a winner.
So
winner, chicken dinner.
Speaking of audiobooks, we've very, 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 very slowly been listening to The Way of Adan on audio because he literally has said, I want to listen to Alan's audio. So
awesome.
We're rarely in the car together. So that's when we listen to the audiobook. So we're up to in the middle of chapter 3 right now.
That's okay. So. What does Aaron have thoughts? Is he sharing observations?
Yeah. He's just like, oh, this is nice. I mean, so.
Okay, we're flinging bodily waste around, but this is nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. Okay, I just have to briefly go, yay, that this is all still happening in chat. Troy, my God, that woman is beautiful. And where are we? Odo was marvelous. Loved Odo. I liked him in Boston Legal, actually, with weirdly enough, William Shatner. And yes, Garrick, the tailor who is totally not a spy, he was marvelous fun. So yeah. So I think I will be getting into some Trek because I'm feeling the Trek urge. Nothing else too exciting going on though.
I am
teenager.
No, I was just saying I am almost finished with the first episode of Firefly, by the way.
So excited.
It's very, very slow. Like, apparently I don't have the attention span for TV anymore.
There's also a lot going on.
It's like freaking almost 2 hours long. Good God.
Yeah, because it was a pilot. It was it was a movie length. It was a 2-episode length pilot. And they were establishing a lot.
Also, did I tell you that my first foray introduction to Firefly was seeing the movie The Serenity, and I didn't realize it was a series.
A lot of people had that start to Firefly.
And I loved it.
Because it was so badly fucking promoted as a TV show. And I say this with anger, and it didn't even air in New Zealand. I only discovered Firefly after I mentioned seeing the DVD in the DVD shop to a friend of mine who had moved to New Zealand from Britain. And I'd said, "This looks really good. I might get that next week." And they've gone, "Oh, after the show, you need it for closure." And I was like, "What?" They were like, "You haven't seen Firefly?" No. Panic stations. The next day, they brought me their copy of the show on DVD. They were like, "Watch this."
And they never got it back.
Oh no, they got it back, but I was on a wait list for the DVDs from my local shop immediately, and I got them for my birthday early that year because I was like, I have to have them. I have to have them. They're vaguely out of reach, but they're just there. My Firefly DVDs. So good. So yeah, don't feel that you're in any way doing it wrong. This is not an unusual way for people to discover Firefly, because the movie you get to see in places.
I vaguely remember there being outrage that I had seen Firefly or had seen Serenity, but never had seen Firefly. So
yeah,
not necessarily from you, but from others. Like,
I think for me it's more, oh, that's really sad, because the payoff in the movie is just so different when you've seen the show.
Yeah. And
then if you've seen the movie, watching the show is different because you know how the movie goes. So yes, you can get a Firefly reading buddy right now. I will watch it with you. I don't mind watching it again this year. Or again this year. It's a bit like Hob. Firefly is my TV version of Robin Hobb. That's how well I know Firefly. Oh, so yes. What have we got up here? We missed a couple.
Excuse me.
Yeah. This is the thing with Firefly. They aired it completely out of order. So Fox had the rights. The pilot that they showed wasn't the pilot that you're in the process of watching. What you will see as episode 2, The Train Job, was aired as the pilot. And then episodes were shown out of order. 3 of the made episodes were never shown. And the pilot was shown as the finale.
Firefly is on Disney Plus, Britain. At least in the US.
But yes. Riker. I liked Riker.
Burn the land, boil
Burn the land and boil the sea. Everybody who watches Firefly is like, oh my God, this theme song is really kind of naff. By episode 5, 6, people are singing along. Because it's that good, man. Never seen Firefly? Yes, I mentioned that one already. Rotten luck. Was it because he was a dick? Possibly. Or was he a dick because of the numerous failures?
Well, or he was just a dick.
I think it was just that he was a dick, because by the time Firefly was trying to air, Buffy was a massive success. So TV studios had no reason to be assholes to him unless he's preempted that.
And also, successful people can and often are dicks. So dicks are going to be dicks regardless. Sorry.
That's right.
Jerry, you're never going to get monetized. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. Seriously. Like I'm ever going to do anything that's going to not offend somebody. You need an excuse to watch Firefly? Do you really? You never need an excuse.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Okay. Oh my God.
It's on Disney Plus, Britain.
Yeah. Britain, this is your year of dairy. Okay. We're getting Discworld. We're getting Firefly. We're getting Realm of the Elderlings. Come on.
This is going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Since I can't get air. Oh, they're both yellow. Once I finish this is going to happen. Pete, if you're watching, we're doing this.
So good. Oh, this is the thing. There was that era of television where science fiction was so brave and it just did amazing things.
So My
go.
Secret Santa got me Dune and Children of Dune, the miniseries from when Sci-Fi was actually Sci-Fi Channel.
Yep.
And that was like that era.
When they were being brave and they were like, fuck it, we don't have the budget. Who cares? We're going to find a way. We've got a story to tell. And it's so the show might look naff, but the acting was always great and the stories were amazing. The writing was always so good. Train Job, second episode, was the second pilot, and they reintroduced all of the characters again. Don't be shocked. I like that this happened. Shitty reasons for it happening, but it happened. And it means that after that enormous pilot, which is 2 hours, with a million things going on, you just get that deeper bedding in of who the characters are. I like that the second episode really helps set these two are married. This is the engineer. This is this character's name. Because it can take so long sometimes to be like, I know I've heard that person's name, but I can't remember who they are. So I like that you get almost 3 episodes of introduction between that double length first episode and the second one. I think it's great. Shall I go when the walls fall? Twin Peaks. God, I remember when that first released. My boyfriend lived just around the corner from a billboard that said, "Who killed Laura Palmer?" And it had the mannequin wrapped in plastic. It was only there for a day before someone told it. Don't make me find you and marry you. I'll bring nothing to the relationship. Not true. You bring yourself.
Yes.
We are your excuse. Damn straight. Buffy and Angel are your Firefly. Saw them on repeat. Nothing wrong with that. Scooby Gang. Can't go wrong. Cowboy Bebop. Wait until you've seen Firefly. Bring only baggage. Is it good looking baggage? What book is that? Babylon 5 is trash. Ron, hide your head. It's not so much that Firefly is about a civil war. The first episode that Evie is watching has given a bit of backstory. There has been a civil war, and the main cast, the core of the main cast, were on the side that lost. And that was where this thing comes from. There's the book, The Killer Angels, that a few people have read recently, that is about the Civil War and about some of the soldiers who came home from the losing side and how they dealt with life. And that's the inspiration between, this very American Civil War story and Firefly, Cowboys in Space. That's the bridge where what do these guys who were on the wrong side, what do they do now? They believed wholeheartedly in what they were fighting for and didn't get to live that future that they were fighting. So what do they do? What does their future look like? And that's what Firefly is. And it is absolutely a Western in space. It sounds ridiculous. I acknowledge that it sounds ridiculous, but it's really, really good. Lots of space for all that baggage. Good stuff. The miniseries is the best. There you go. The Baron is a ginger, as is supposed to be the case. Okay. Apparently he was a dick on Buffy, so maybe he was just always a dick. Yeah, I think rumor has it he was always a dick. But what I hate is that he's been cancelled for being a dick when there are people out there who are actual predators, known predators, accused, and what's the word I'm looking for? Judged predators who have gone, oh, well, I've done my thing now, and have just gone back to work. Joss Whedon is still cancelled, and I'm sorry, he might be an asshole, but he can tell a story.
Cancelled. It's. Yeah,
that really bothers me, because there are people who have done far worse who are still working, and Joss has been cancelled because he's an asshole.
It's all about power structures and who's in that.
It bothers me a lot. Lorne needs to sing, regardless of what field. Who is going to be a massive prick? Yeah, some people just are. I mean, one of my favorite web things to watch, and if you haven't seen it, oh my God, go and watch it now, is Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
I love that. Oh my god. Sorry.
Is that not just the most remarkably fun thing
I
ever?
haven't seen it in so long. I need to watch
Well,
it.
you're going to go and watch that later. Because I get like that. I'm like, I haven't thought about it for ages. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, I have to watch that right now. You don't need like half an hour.
Evil.
Guaranteed
evil,
giggles.
Evil. Also,
Yeah.
hi, Carlos.
Where have we got it? Roll down. Hey!
Happy Christmas.
Your dad put on a terrible Netflix Christmas movie. Oh my God!
So it sounds like a perfect Christmas movie.
Probably. Have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, Carlos. Mwah! Give our love to Yolanda and have a wonderful, wonderful time. Stay safe. Can we watch it together like a watch party? I'm sure we can sort something out. It's only a little group of us, and I have DVDs. So,
Grouffe. Yes, please. Thank you.
that would work. Actually, that could be really good too. Get the right people involved in that. Oh, so much of it is he said, she said crap.
Yeah, that's how the world works.
Yeah, Neil Gaiman writes American Gods 2, Neverwhere 2, 75 more Sangan comics, and we might forget some stuff, just saying. You know. And I'm a fan of his work. But some things aren't. No. No. No.
Yeah,
it ends now. What we've got, we get to go, yeah, that was great. You don't get to do more.
Yeah.
So.
And,
no.
I mean, obviously it's everyone's prerogative to engage with an artist in their work before, during, or after an incident or on, behavior or whatever. And no one should be judged for, people that still read Harry Potter or
just thinking,
Rowling's works, or no one should be judged one way or the other. If they still
I'm a bit with grief right here. I'm heartbroken. I'm like, I can't have heroes. I just can't.
I think that's part of the problem, is people are putting human beings on pedestals.
Yeah.
So.
But I think, and a lot of it also, it is always very personal for everybody, because it comes down to your own boundaries, where you're like, I will accept a certain amount of us. It's a bit like me. I've literally just sat here and said, I hate that Whedon has been cancelled. For some people, I've crossed a boundary because I'm accepting a certain amount of asshole behavior, which shouldn't be allowed, But I am not giving that same grace to Neil Gaiman.
Again, it's up to everyone's prerogative.
Because my personal boundary on what I think is stuff I can overlook is at this place. Someone else's is here. Someone else's is here. And so it's all incredibly personal. And
that's the other thing, is like also taking your own boundaries and enforcing them on other people, saying,
that's right, that projection
is not allowed for me, it shouldn't be allowed for you. So. And tangential, actually, very much into this, like the whole book banning stuff that's going on in the US. I'm sure it goes on everywhere. Like, no, just because you don't want to read about, oh my God, sexual organs, and you wouldn't want your child there, then parent your child.
That's right. That's right.
Other people can, know how to parent their child appropriately.
Yes.
Anywho, Ida, by the way, to your question, I would not be mad.
Not really.
I just appreciate. I'm just glad that you read the book and that you engaged with it and you enjoyed it. Hopefully,
and well.
Yeah, I mean,
it's number 3.
Pretty up there. I joke around that I'm like, how dare you give Spirit Cuts Through Water 4 stars or whatever.
Yeah.
But I genuinely, regardless of the number, you can even give it 1 star. I don't care. But as long as the way that if you discuss it and you talk about it, you recognize that, hey, he's doing something, whether it's Spirit Cuts Through Water or The Vanished Birds, his craft cannot be undenied. He's doing something different. And whether you click with it or not, that's obviously purely subjective, but he's not a bad writer at all.
No. And what he's doing is really playing with words. And as a fan of Terry Pratchett, seeing and because you can, seeing that love of words, this want to play with them, to see what you can make them do. There's a magic all on its own in that, of watching somebody use words as a craft. To what can I create with this? There's a real beauty to that. And as to this, yes, historically, with some of the pillars of fantasy and science fiction were horrible people.
Again, we're human. As much as I like to think I'm a great person, to some people, I might be
you might be. Oh my God, that woman.
So,
yeah. It's all context. It's all, and to be fair, it's also part of it's a cultural advancement issue as well. I can't think where I was or what I was talking about, but something about an age gap between a young woman and a not that much older man. And my thoughts on it were, there are some places in the world where this isn't only legal, this is normal. It's only your particular cultural expectation that says this isn't okay.
Yeah.
So there's so many things to take into account when we start talking about, okay, where do we feel we're allowed to be offended?
Yeah.
Offense is part of life. Sometimes that offense brings something to the piece of art that you're interacting with, whether it's actual, physical art in terms of sculpture or painting, whether it's literature. It brings something.
Yeah.
And sometimes offense is part of what you bring to it. So it's a weird thing, art. Very weird.
Anyways, on a lighter, more positive note, what are you going to read? What new thing are you going to read next, Derry? Do you have that planned?
Next, I want to read the Nalini Singh thriller that I got because I love her paranormal fantasy.
Is that the latest one that came out, or no?
No, this is an older one. I just found it really cheap in the op shop, so I was like, oh, I wanted to read one of her thrillers, but I wasn't prepared to pay full price for it because responses from fans of her writing have been a bit kind of wishy-washy. Like, it's not fabulous, it's not terrible, it's just kind of meh. But I don't know if that's because those people leaving reviews only read paranormal fantasy or spicy fantasy or what. So I'm like, well, I have to read it for myself, but I'm not prepared to spend that much money on a book I'm not sure about. So when I found it cheap, I was like, oh, grab it. So that will be my first new read. I do intend next year to go into Sun Eater. That's my goal for the year, is to do Sun Eater next year.
Nice.
So yeah. Don't be sorry. Discussions, it's all good.
I did read Eileen, and I don't care if it paints me in a bad light, but I love that book. That's one of my favorite books.
I don't know, Eileen. What is this book?
It's Eileen by Ottessa Moshfegh. It's not my favorite Ottessa Moshfegh. It's actually my second favorite Ottessa Moshfegh. My favorite Ottessa Moshfegh work is Latvona.
Oh, yes, I remember you reading that with Amanda. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and you both really liked that.
Latvona? No, I read that with
was it Jimmy?
Matt and Stephanie. And then Eileen, I think I read with Our Share of Night I read with Jimmy. But I finished it way after the fact. So
okay.
I argue it's not horny at all.
Okay.
So I did read Guns of the Dawn. Everyone should go read Guns of the Dawn.
They totally should. It's really good. Year of Rest and Relaxation?
I actually want to reread my Year of Rest and Relaxation because I read it when I was getting back into reading, like maybe a year after I started like really getting back into reading, and I actually only listened to it on audio. The audiobook is fantastic, by the way. So I want to physically read it, and hopefully like it even more. So
No, maybe.
Lavona was definitely a, which is why. So. But more actually, the biggest reason why I love Lapvona so much, and actually why I like Eileen so much as well, is I see myself, again, whatever this says about me, I see myself so deeply in the titular characters. So like Eileen is a character who's very quiet, sheltered. She grows up in a area that's a home that's not great. As Chadia says, it's disgusting. And and then Lapvona, the main character, is literally, he is a, what do they call him? I can't remember, but he's got like a spine deformity or whatever, so he's like kind of a hunchback, but not really. And Otessa Moshfegh talked about in interviews how she put the majority of herself in, his name is Merrick, because she grew up dealing with spine issues, scoliosis, which is what I had. She was in a back brace. I was also in a back brace. So even before I had, watched these,
there's already that.
I had already like identified so much with Merrick, and I'm like, oh my god, I feel so much for this character, even though this is so disgusting, everything that's going on. And then knowing the background and the inspiration and why she wrote that character, made me love him
added to that.
So. And also it's gross and disgusting, and apparently I really like it. So
I'd come at it from the other way. You don't like happy, so if it's not happy, it may be an Evie book.
It's true. So I know I don't help my reputation with loving sad, melancholy books. And that's not to say that
I am teasing.
Yeah, I know. And it's not to say that like, oh, if it's got an emotional moment, I'm gonna love it. More times than like, it's not, if it's has an emotional moment or it's gonna make me cry. Like,
no,
crying, much like laughter, is all subjective. Like, things that will make people cry is not gonna be the same for everyone.
No, it's not.
Like, let's see.
Having said that, if you can get through Fool's Errand and not cry, you're dead inside.
I did cry once, a singular time. But
that's because there's so many different ways that book is emotional that if at least one doesn't get you, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I can't remember. Never mind.
No, but the subjective nature of being deeply emotive means that it's not necessarily a deeply emotive thing being the hook. It's that it's a specific hook that happens to also be deeply emotive will get you. And they're not always the same.
Yeah. So, I think more than anything, it's the tone.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That gets me.
It does. And I think I know that from the things that I've read that I know that you love, there's an element of pathos in the things that you really love, where it's that really clear connection of the very bright and the very dark, and the inability of one to exist without the other.
Yeah.
That strikes me for you.
And the catharsis in it. Like, if I can feel cathartic in something, I'm like, this is better than therapy. Tharnal, thank you for bringing up Winternight Trilogy.
I'm really pleased you've done so well, because you have been having a really hard time. So for you to still be going and still reading, bloody good on you, my friend. So good. So good. Anyway. Egyptian goddess of hearth and protector of the home, and sometimes slayer of Apophis. Okay. American gods. Show, I'm going to need you to find disgusting.
Completely unrelated. I will say that ever since, was it last year or maybe the year before? I can't remember. I read Paradise Lost by John Milton. By read, I mean I technically listened to it on audio. Because that's the thing that helped me. Chalube? Who's that one?
That was the one who put the chains on Firebird.
I'm like, wait, why?
You were on another path entirely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, I have not seen that name spelled before.
For far too long. Clearly,
yes,
time for a reread.
It actually is. I'm going to be starting my winter night reread in January. So,
well, there you go.
But yeah, so I read Paradise Lost last year, or whatever, and I read the Iliad earlier this year. One of my best books of the year, best reads of the year, by the way. And
nice.
I'm now on a poetry kick. I've read the Odyssey now. I read all of Sarah Tomi's poetry. I'm 6 cantos into Inferno. I might actually finish this by the end of the year if I can.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh no, you're quite right. Sorry, Thano.
Forgot about the guy. So.
You're quite right.
Yeah. Excuse me.
No, I admire you for reading poetry. I struggle with that. I actually tried to send you a book from New Zealand for Christmas, but it was so hard to get shipped to you that I didn't. So you may get it for your birthday at some point, or just randomly through the year. And it's the book that the movie The Whale Rider was based on.
Oh!
And because I reread it this year and was reminded just how powerful a short story can be. And some authors have that ability to really tie in a theme with a story, and that this also has a traditional Māori aspect to it is just incredible. The talent that takes to tell a story that powerful in so few words. And even with as wonderful as the story is, because they do a very good job in adapting the story to film, in the film The Whale Rider, there are whole subplots in there that just don't make it because they're so in the inference and subtext in the book that it's not essential to the story. But they're such vital pieces of the story,
right,
that knowing they exist is important. And one of them is that the narrator of the story doesn't live at home with his family because he's gay. His family feel awkward around him, so he leaves, and that's not in the story. This relationship with her uncle, who has lived away from her, and his need to come home because things have happened, and his partner who dies of AIDS, who is then rejected by that person's family. He comes home because he's grieving and he feeling isolated. So you get this isolation again within a tribe. And how do I get acceptance? So you've got this gay person who's not accepted. You've got this little girl who should really have been a boy to inherit the title. And you get all of those themes wrapped into this relationship around a myth, around this area of land. And it's this tiny, tiny book. It's tiny, tiny book. And I just remember thinking when I reread it, this is actually a book I think Evie would really, really love. Just in terms of feeling lovely things while you read it. Yeah. So anyway. Greatest scene ever. Lucifer confronts Raphael and says that the first archangel cannot ever be defeated by a lone angel.
So I actually did not mean to bring this up. Like when I brought up Paradise Lost, I did not realize the correlation. So I read The Gypsy earlier this year.
Yes.
Here? Yeah. So co-authored by our favorite, Robin Hopp.
Yes, I remember, because you read it with Josh.
Yes. Yep. Robin Hopp / Megan Lindholm. She co-wrote it with Stephen Brust.
Yes.
So I enjoyed it to the point, and I couldn't tell who wrote what. So already I know, obviously, I love Robin Hopp / Megan Lindholm's writing. So yes. I want to experience Stephen Brust's work to see how I like it. Mm-hmm. He's written, and I'm totally blanking on the name of the book. It's Hell something. I can see the cover in my head. It's a sci-fi essentials, Tor Essentials, I think.
Oh, okay.
Edition that I have. But it is a novel retelling of like Lucifer's perspective in Paradise Lost in the fall.
Okay.
Of the angels. And I'm like, oh damn, this is gonna be
That sounds
be my first one. This is gonna be my first one.
So cool.
Because I mean, that's what I loved so much about Paradise Lost. And I know it was literally only half of it is Lucifer's perspective.
Okay.
It's truly incredible. So
okay. Because I'd love any kind of story that is a retelling on those themes. You know, this fallen sun, this we're going to paint this character as the bad guy, and yet when you drill right down into it, the reason is non-conformity. So I love that as a theme. And so when anybody takes that and sort of gives it a different spin, I'm like, oh yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
but Britain, thank God. I hate it. I hate it so much.
Oh, this is Andrew's one. Meredith?
No. Oh, no.
I was going to say, because I'm thinking I've got that. I don't want to hear that.
This is traditional published. This is Catherine M. Valenti.
Okay. Gotcha.
Like most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, I can see why people like a book. Even if I hated it, I can see why people like a book. Deathless is the book that changed that 100% to 99%. Because I do not see how anyone likes that book.
Okay.
I think I literally put for my review on when I posted it on Instagram, I was like 1 star and that was generous. Seriously. Someone tell me why they like this book.
Wow. Okay.
I was so mad. I was so mad. Kim, if you're watching this on replay, back me up on this. She hated it as well. On the bright side, silver lining, Kim and I were buddy reading it, and we both hated the crap out of it. So it was a successful buddy read in that regard.
Yep, because let's face it, nothing cements a friendship more than hating something together.
Well, that was the thing. So we were both like pushing through it because we were thinking that the other person was, still wanted to read it. So we were like both suffering through this book and both not liking it, but we're both like not wanting to like DNF it.
Don't be the one to say, I don't want to keep going. Oh, that's funny. And I mean, notwithstanding anything we said earlier, this is a statement true of very many books. Because the exceptional writer.
Also, insert, man, this book would have been better if X wrote it. But also, it would have been different. Not better, but different.
No, that's right. And different. And different often means it would appeal to somebody.
Yeah.
But I also want to say too, Gofrey, with the inclusiveness of books, I am still working on the editing of it, but it is coming. I am working on it. A Mercedes Lackey video about the Valdemar series. It's for light fantasy, nice fantasy, good guy fantasy, kind of middle grade-ishy even to some degree, but a lot of her characters are gay, queer, in polyamorous relationships or in some way non-binary. And these were written in the late 80s through the 90s through to current. So they were a big deal at the time. And it's always treated as okay. It's just how it goes. And also comes back to what I was saying about the nature of love and the vessel that encompasses the person is not important. There's a lot of that in Mercedes Lackey writing. So, yeah, that's an author you might want to look at.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you for... Listen, I have... I have acolytes for my work. Is that the right word?
Accolades.
No, it's the... Like, you... Like, Derry, you're the mother. I'm the...
Oh, yes. Acolyte. Yes.
So, Chadia's, being acolyte, spreading the good word through me.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an acolyte of Simon Jimenez's teachings.
Yes.
Whereas you yourself, of course, the grand poobah of the church of Simon Jimenez.
The proselytizer.
Yes.
Also, Britain. She was telling a story in the first act? ? I'm being sarcastic now. So.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, I need this. As soon as I turn my video on here, she's gonna stop doing it. But I need this on camera.
Oh, I saw the wagging of the tail. What is she doing?
She's got the zoomies. She's racing back and forth.
I love it when they get like that.
Are you gonna race back and forth?
No, because you've got the camera on now. You have to look like an idiot. Oh, there she goes. You're like, hello? Hi.
You done?
I'm going to wait for you to... No, she's still got the big eyes. He's waiting for you to look away.
Pretty much.
Yep.
I see that.
The anime eyes are the key.
Yeah. Yeah, you got the zoomies.
Yeah, they're not after attention though when they do this, Britain. I don't know what it is, but they go mad. Like something short circuits in their brain and they just go insane for 5 minutes. I tell Motzi, you're having your funny 5 minutes. But if it doesn't calm down, you have to go outside.
So normally she gets like this after she's done her number 2.
When she's feeling all light and frisky.
Yeah, exactly. But she has not done that. And she's just like,
oh, she's so cute.
Listen, I guess, I've got drinks. She's been drinking something. I don't know. So
it's the mood. She's picking up on the vibe. There's something cool going on. Did she find her Christmas catmint?
Right. I mean, I did give her that, the squeezy, like, treats.
The little pouchy cheeks.
Yeah.
I'm still so astonished that Mott's ate his. I really am. Bloody little sod. Anyway, it's a whole different thing.
Oh, so speaking of animals with wet food, or whatever. So I realized, when I make Max's food, now that he's got wet and dry food, I mix it all together, so that it's all mixed together. Aaron fed Max tonight for dinner, or fed his dinner, and what he does is he puts the wet food at the bottom of the bowl and puts what he calls a pie. He makes it a pie, and he puts the dry food on top over the wet food. So he has to eat all the dry food to get to the wet food.
Or wait for the wet food to soak into the dry food, which just is going to take forever.
Yeah, he calls it a pie. He's like, it's like a pie. And I'm like, I don't understand.
But it's a pie that he can't pick up. To get the goodness of the yummy inside, he has to eat just crust to get to the yummy.
I know.
See, anyway. I would be better. I would even be okay if he half and halved it in the bowl.
I mean, Max still eats all of it. He cleans it.
I mean, it's a dog, though.
So,
It's like, how much are we going to spoil the dog? All. That's how much. We're going to give them all the spoiling because we love them.
It's true.
It is. It's what I said to the cat last night. I said, why do I put up with you, Motzi? Because he was being a zoomie and my foot was sore because I'd stood on glass and bled everywhere and I was in a bad mood. And then he came and gave me loves and made me feel better. I was like, why do I put up with so much, Motzi? And he just looked at me and I said, oh, yes, I know, because that's what I do. That's what you do. Is you just love them to bits.
That's why.
Yeah. So I get 100% of the spoiling of the loves. Anything less is not acceptable.
It's true. It's true.
And they do. They somehow manage to give you all of that in one look. No.
Yeah.
Nothing like it.
Demands must be met.
Damn straight.
And you cannot negotiate with terrorists.
No, you really can't. And they will terrorize you. Literally.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Ending with a whimper?
Yeah.
Darling, we live in the year 2024/2025. We don't want shit going out with bangs. Bangs are bad.
It's true.
Explosive things are not good. Nothing that is preceded by the word explosive is good.
It's true. Britton, if you're reading mid-books, DNF, like as Chadia said,
DNF those bastards.
Read
Do you know
the
what?
books that you want to read.
Do you know what? Get a jump start on next year and read Guards. You'll be done before the end of the year and you'll end on a banger.
It's true.
Just saying. Won't even take
Did
too long.
you see that Josh read Guards?
I did. I'm so excited. I did. I knew he would. Pretty much like I know most people will love Terry Pratchett on BookTube because the people on BookTube are clever. They have brains in their heads. So, of course, they're going to love.
Far for me, but okay.
Terry Pratchett is going to work for fantasy booktubers. It is completely beyond my comprehension how anybody in our corner of BookTube, in this corner of BookTube that claims to like fantasy and like intelligence and like theme work and like characters, not to love Discworld.
Did I tell you about the 10-year-old that I saw in the bookstore that his dad was getting Discworld for him?
No, you didn't, but oh look, you did.
You can't see it, but she's got a
she's doing that. I'm gonna think about pouncing.
No, she's got a catnip banana.
Oh, is she?
Oh no, it's her catnip rainbow toy. And she's
I see.
She's licking it,
mad.
and this she'll start rubbing her face on it.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. She's already started a little bit. She'll lick it, and then she'll rub her face on it, and then she's gonna do zoomies again. Oh, there.
Right.
Maybe.
So she's a catnip strumpet, is what you're saying.
Yes. Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
There she goes.
There she goes. Oh, she's so beautiful.
You're the laziest playing cat ever. This is her.
She's a cat.
Yeah, I mean, also she's an old lady. Like she's 14.
Yeah, it can take a bit. Trust me, it takes a bit to get excitable when you're an old lady. Have I read Douglas Adams? Of course, I've read Douglas Adams. I'm sorry, but what kind of question is that?
Unpopular opinion. I loved the film with Zooey Deschanel and Martin Freeman and
so did I, because Alan Rickman voiced Marvin, and that was perfect. And that could have overlooked anything that was crap, but nothing was crap. It was all great. Sam Rockwell and Seyfarth, perfect. That kind of energy, absolutely perfect for Seyfarth. I loved it. Bill Nighy as Slarty Bartfast, loved it. I just said Slarty Bartfast twice after a lot of whiskey and coke and only breakfast. That's how much of a Douglas Adams fan I am.
Get food to soak up the alcohol
soon.
Okay,
but yeah, I have read Douglas Adams. That's kind of a silly question. Anyway,
Mo's death was great.
It was. Although I don't know that I matched. If anybody, that was the one that didn't quite gel right for me. But nobody's ever done Ford right. And I don't know if that's because I imagine Ford differently to how he's actually written. Because, that's a possibility.
Okay, sorry. Britton, Guns Fighting Words. Just
what does he say now?
Pratchett and Adams are not equal at all.
They are really not. And honey, until you read some, you are not allowed to make that comparison anymore. Please don't.
We have alcohol, but seriously, like Pratchett, that's like saying, what's the comparison? That's like saying that, I don't know. I don't like Beatles and Led Zeppelin are at the same level.
They're doing very different things.
Yeah.
Very different. Douglas Adams and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is literally a radio comic show written into a book. It is about the gags. It is funny. Discworld is about humans and people and isms and themes and all of the things, and happens to mostly occasionally include some wit.
Yeah.
They're not the same. the same.
Wit and humor are not the
There
same.
are many. There are many.
Isn't there a Hogs?
If you are talking about the TV show that BBC America did, it is horrible, and don't you dare watch it and let anybody think it's worth watching.
What is it?
Because The Watch by BBC America is
Oh,
an abomination that needs to be fucking nuked out of existence.
Can you
I
and Alan
rage quit that so fucking fast.
Can you and Alan
Sorry.
talk about that and rage about it for like an hour, maybe 2?
I could, because oh my God, that made me so angry. I wanted to love it. I wanted so badly for it to be a good thing.
Yeah. Now, having read enough City Watch, mind you, I haven't watched the series. I just watched the trailers. I'm like, I see where they got the kernels of what they did, but they just amplified the negative aspects and just tried to make it dark and edgy.
It's just wrong. In its soul, to every atom. It's wrong.
Oh, there's a Color of Magic show on Amazon Prime?
Yes, it's quite an old one. It has Tim Curry and Sean Astin.
What?
And yeah, it's quite good.
Is Tim Curry playing Rincewind?
No, he plays. I'm trying to think who he plays. He plays a magician that doesn't make it into what I call real Discworld. I'm sorry, I just got very hot and bothered there.
It's cool. It's cool.
Like, I genuinely rage.
Sorry.
Oh,
I didn't mean to bring it up.
They dared to say that the BBC America show was hated because the magician was a woman. No, it's because it was wrong.
Garbage.
Like, I was happy for it to be very different. I was happy for it to have been a potential Discworld that just existed in a different trouser leg of time. Not even trousers.
Not even a pair of pants that are in your drawers.
No. I'm not saying he didn't, but that was not the point of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah, the story was built around the jokes, whereas the
jokes become funny because of writing.
Yes.
There are a lot of great adaptations. You've got The Color of Magic that was done with Tim Curry and Sean Astin, and it's quite good. There was some animated ones that you can find on YouTube. They did Weird Sisters and they did Soul Music. Trying to think, there was another one they did in animation, but I can't think what that was. The BBC has done Hogfather really well. I liked Hogfather. Hogfather was great.
Didn't they do a Mort one, or is that Hogfather?
I don't think they've done Mort. They've definitely done Hogfather. They've
is that
done
the one where Susan, played by Michelle?
Yes.
Whatever her name is.
Yes. Yes, it is Michelle, who also is in Downton Abbey.
Yes.
Yes, same one. That's great. And the guy they've got playing Mr. Tea Time was in an episode of Doctor Who. What else? There's a really great adaptation of Going Postal, which has Charles Dance, who was Tywin in Game of Thrones. Charles Dance plays the patrician, and he plays him perfectly. He doesn't look like the patrician looks in the book because he's fair, obviously, whereas the patrician is very, very narrow and very pointy and very dark. But he is the patrician in Going Postal, and he is perfect at it. Claire Foy was the love interest in Going Postal, Adora Bell-Dearhart. She's wonderful, just wonderful. And there is a short film that you can get through YouTube, and I've pinned it in a lot of the Discord threads I'm a part of that are Discworld, is a short film by Snowgum Productions called Trollbridge. And that's based on one of the short stories and is that most perfect adaptation of a Discworld character, a Discworld situation, a Discworld story perfectly.
Do any of them include?
Oh, Soul Music, I think, has some of the Librarian. I'm trying to think. They must do, because, yeah, he must be in it somewhere. I haven't seen that one for a long time. Yes, the Patrician should look like the Old Master in Doctor Who, but Charles Dance doesn't look like that, but plays him perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. Like, he blew me away with how exactly right he was as the Patrician. I was like, yes, this is exactly what I imagine him to be. Oh,
I mean,
and
the
David
Patrician is
Suchet.
cold and calculating, and Charles Dance evokes that entirely.
Yeah, and he can do it with this face of, are you really arguing with me? And
I absolutely adore. So Aaron and I watch Hot Ones. It's a weekly YouTube thing where they interview people. Peter Dinklage was on it, and he talked about how Charles Dance felt so bad about all of the scenes where he was being terrible to Tyrion as his playing as Tywin.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that, and of course I'm paraphrasing here. Like, he's like, between scenes, he's like, he would just like kind of touch me as like a fatherly thing to say, you know, you're okay, and you know, we're okay, and like, you know, I care about you, because he's having to be so terrible to Peter Dinklage's character that it's, I mean,
it's upsetting.
I'm not an actor, but I can just imagine like how draining that could be to just act those types of characters, or
just to hear those words when so many of those words are about your appearance. That is your appearance. That must have been just incredibly difficult to act through, and for Charles Dance to appreciate that so finely, that even in the moment he's constantly assuring that we're still good. I don't personally feel this way, and you know, I like that about him. And I mean, he is incredible, absolutely incredible. Just very briefly, as where are we? Yeah, I wonder why Pratchett didn't put something in as well about the film rights. They already belong to the production company that he'd created, so he didn't have to worry about those. And the only reason his writing stuff is in as well is because, you know, at the point of not being finished, they're just paraphernalia around his office that, you know, become part of the estate. So that's why the current writings were specifically mentioned. And yes, why not? Hi, Rick. And Tyrion and Tywin, the Tywin that you see is very close in personality to the Patrician, in terms of he's the person who is making the decisions, and everybody will follow what I'm telling them. The Patrician isn't as domineering. The Patrician isn't physically strong, and he has no inherent physical power. His power comes from knowledge and the way he works with people. So Charles Dance is able to do both, where he can be Tywin and be a physical presence who dominates, and thus, you know, creates this power for himself. And he can be the Patrician, this very mentally controlled person who then dominates the discussion. He's amazing as the Patrician. Absolutely amazing.
One man, one
vote. He did Phantom? Oh, I did not know this. I did not know this. Oh, wow.
Listen, I will die on my hill by myself that Gerard Butler's, the film adaptation of Phantom of the Opera musical with Gerard Butler and Emmy Rossum, is great. I will die on
I liked it. No, I did like that. You have returned. Yay. Welcome back.
Hi, Kev.
Tywin is ruthless. Yeah. And the Patrician is also ruthless in a different way, which is why when he plays the Patrician in Going Postal, it works so well. Yeah. Again, the Patrician can do this. And it's why you completely, some roles, if they don't look right, it just doesn't work because the look is so important to the character. The patrician, I would have said for the longest time, was one of those. Not anymore. Not since Charles Dance did the patrician. At that point, you're like, no. It doesn't matter what the patrician looks like.
I am gonna Google this.
I'm gonna have to Google that.
Yeah, Kev, I know you were a good guy. This just reinforces it.
I'm so old that I bought the original Phantom of the Opera soundtrack of the opera on LP with Michael Crawford and Sarah Brightman. And if you are familiar with Michael Crawford, who played the Phantom, you may know that in a previous life, he was a comic actor. And he played a character called Frank Spencer in Some Mothers Do Have Him, who is just the ultimate klutz. Ultimate klutz. If something can break, or he can trip over it, or get tangled in it, or trapped in it, or just look ridiculous doing it, that's who he was. And there is a character in one of the Witches books, Masquerade, where there is a person in a musical theatre and they're performing opera, and there's a ghost in the opera house who's trying to teach the really pretty girl how to sing. And oh my God, they are so based on Michael Crawford, because this character, when they're in mundane life, is clumsy and falls over things and speaks over himself a lot. And you're like, oh my God, this is Michael Crawford. The layers of knowledge that Terry Pratchett can get into a book. Like, those things are funny to just read when you know that that's the character, that the first person who played the other character. It's astonishing. So good.
Sorry, I had myself muted just in case this randomly started playing by itself. Okay. Which is still probably going to be there, hopefully not.
I went to see Phantom of the Opera many years later with a group of 17-year-old boys. None of whom were related to me, because a friend of mine had a son going to a school who she couldn't go with the group, who were going as part of the school group. And the friend was a friend of my stepson, but my stepson didn't go to that school. But I went in place of the other parent. Yeah. And it was great. Oh, I didn't know that either.
Well,
oh my God.
When I searched for it on YouTube, so I found someone did a bootleg copy, I guess, of the 1990 version, but there's also a 1962 version that's on like YouTube. You can buy it on YouTube.
Wow.
So this was obviously
I didn't pick that either.
Pre-musical.
Pre-Lloyd Webber. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Sort of Kitsune. Yeah. That is funny. Here's something interesting I didn't realize. Who was it? It was Bill Bailey. No, not Bill Bailey. That's a different person entirely. I'm thinking comedians who play instruments. Tim Minchin, who does the song Prejudice that you may have seen.
Oh, is it the guy? He's got like really long, like caveman hair.
Yep, and he does eyeliner and does barefoot.
Yep.
Very strange man. Great comedy. He plays Judas in Jesus Christ Superstar in the same show that Sporty Spice plays Mary.
I have
and it is amazing.
Apparently, so YouTube decided to recommend me Mel C's version of whatever big song that Mary.
I don't know how to love him.
Sings. Yeah,
yeah.
Because I've never actually seen Jesus Christ Superstar.
Have you not? The movie's great.
But
okay. The musical numbers are amazing.
Tangentially related, because for whatever reason, this is in my mind as the same thing. If you've never seen Hamlet 2, oh my God, you need to watch Hamlet 2. It's hysterical. It's about it's kind of a parody of like the movies from the 90s where like a teacher goes into an inner city school and makes them better. But it's about this theater teacher who wants to make a sequel to Hamlet, musical sequel to Hamlet, but it's like, everybody dies.
Hey.
light spoiler, there's a song in the musical called Rock Me Sexy Jesus. Where they did the Lindy Hop. And it's hysterical.
Right. That's okay. The Jesus Christ Superstar, there's a song by King Herod. I'm just trying to think what it's called. I can't think what it's called. And the hook it's decidedly inappropriate. But there was a recent stage show where Alice Cooper played it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Speaking of Herod, Zora Neale Hurston's unfinished novel,
Yeah.
The Life of King Herod the Great, or The Life of Herod the Great,
Yeah.
is releasing on January 7th. And you know what I'm going to be setting aside? I'm going to be setting aside everything to read that book when it comes out. So.
That's very cool. There's a lot of good books coming out next year that I know about, and I don't go looking. So there's got to be even more.
Kev, I'm manifesting Thorn of Emberlane, or whatever it's called, the 4th Scott Lynch book for you.
Yay! But yes, there's so much going on. Wow. Well, wow, we're 1:30. We've been going for some time. 3.5 hours. I might draw this to a close because I really should go and cook myself some food.
And this gives us all a break before Brian from Belt starts his
Those of you
stream
who need to can go and get shit done. And yeah, so I'm going to say that.
Yes, Kev.
Must be only posting onto that. Yeah, well, like I said. Anyway.
That's going to be me and Jerry when a Robin Hobb book comes out.
Oh, yes. They will be very awake. Awake. Sorry, I saw I just comment. Awake for pride. No, there will be much happiness and glee.
Yes.
But anyway, with all of that, much love to all of you. Merry Christmas. Mwah.
In the words of Dean Pelton, Merry Happy.
Yep. That's the end of that.